Hey everyone, welcome to the Dad Challenge podcast, real crime series that we do generally in lives, a crowdsourced real crime conversation. And with everything going on over Christmas, kind of took a break from it all. No, I didn't. I download templates and I change them. I don't create that stuff. It takes too long to make. I mean, I could, but it just takes too long. Yeah, please subscribe, hit the like button if you guys are here. Justice for Oakley. Will is actually the guy who gave me, like, we're in a chat, and Will's like, you guys been hearing about this case? Everybody's been telling me about it, and Will just sent me the link, and as soon as I read it, I'm like, gotta talk about it at least for an hour, just kind of get this out there, get it going. Other maybe channels picking it up and stuff like that. The more people know about it, the better. If it's blurry, refresh your feed, everybody. Oh, I got like a puff in my beard here. If it's blurry, refresh your feed. Make sure that my internet is on proper too. Guys, my bad. It's weird because it says my internet's kind of low, but well, that's cool. Driving up to Canada, it's pretty cold up here. Be careful. Oh, I took the tree down. It's Christmas over. Don't you know? Christmas over. Actually, I was just in really mood of cleaning the other day and decided to just completely just go ham and clean. I'm doing well. Thank you guys very much. Okay, so let's just kind of kick it off with what's going on with Oakley Carlson. And I think we're going to encompass a lot of issues tonight about kind of, it's sad and we sort of probably know what happened, like just based on everything. But I think it's going to be a conversation that generally we lead to this conversation about how Children Protective Services, or whatever the moniker in your state is called. Here it's CPS, and all these things. It's how often the kids get failed. Okay, it's how often this happens, and then we keep having a conversation about it. And it seems like no one really gives a crap. Like no one wants to change it, and it's actually easily fixed if you just spend your money elsewhere, Canada and the US. Yeah, we need to demand better. So let me just bring up the article. The first one I have here, it's a Crime Online article. I'll bring it and I'll share it with you guys here. Give me a second. So it's from Crime Online, and it said manslaughter charges dropped. So the issue is that they only have manslaughter charges. Okay, which to me, I guess you have to work within the boundaries of the law. And if you have no proof of a body, and we talked about this in the Gabby Petito case, no body, no crime, basically, right? If you have eyewitnesses, which I think is they have in this case, as we will uncover it, you're going to find out that, that's when things can start getting a little bit more serious. But let's read this and see why the charges were dropped. The parents of a missing 5-year-old girl eaten by wolves. Okay. The parents of a missing Washington girl are now facing charges in connection with their other daughter. On Friday, police dropped the manslaughter charges against Jordan Bowers and Andrew Carlson, identified as the parents of 5-year-old Oakley Carlson, who was reported missing Monday. By the way, before we get farther, apparently she's been not seen for well over a year. December of last year, or what some people are saying, February of last year. It's been a very, very long time. Okay. And right at the top, as soon as I see this issue of this long disappearance, the bus not going to her house anymore, all these types of things, as soon as I see that, instantly, where is your mind going to go? Okay, it's been over a year. These parents clearly have done something. So why are they dropping the charges? Even if she did go out and get eaten by wolves or whatever they're saying, okay, why would they not say this is Casey Anthony? Why are they not saying she's missing when she went missing almost a year ago or over a year ago? Okay, sorry. They were initially charged with suspicion of manslaughter after they failed to provide police details about Oakley's whereabouts. The pair is now facing abandonment of a dependent person in the second degree, with bail set at $150,000 for each, according to Grays Harbor Sheriff's Office. So new charges. The new charges came about after the suspects allegedly failed to give Oakley's 6-year-old sister her prescribed medication. So hear this. The police hands are so tied with this that they're charging the parents, with the other sister who is alive by not giving her the medication she needs, for failing to give her prescribed medication. So they're looking for other things. Clearly, these parents are most disgusting type of parents, right? We tend to cover this a lot. Andrew Carlson and Jordan Bowers have not been providing medication prescribed to their daughter, who is 6 years old, as required by her doctor, the sheriff's office wrote on Facebook. The medicine has been withheld for approximately 15 months. The medication is necessary for her physical well-being and puts her at risk for physical impairment and could eventually result in death. I don't know what medication is. You have cystic fibrosis. I have no idea what's going on. I mean, I think HIPAA, we don't need to know. What we need to know is that these parents are disgusting. So sorry, I'm missing some comments. Well, we're going to talk about this, Just Brit, because they were taken away and they were given back. And then this happened. So let's get into it. Police are trying to determine the last time Oakley was seen. As of now, the last confirmed sighting of Oakley happened on January 27th, 2021, almost a year ago. That's the last confirmed sighting. Okay? As Crime Online previously reported, that's actually 11 months to the day. Oakley's neighbors said they have not seen her in quite some time. Another person in the Oakley neighborhood has said that it's been so long since Oakley was seen that the school bus eventually stopped coming to pick her up. Grays Harbor Under Sheriff Brad Johansson said Oakley was filed as missing after authorities arrived at her family residence Monday, this is recently, to perform a welfare check at the request of Oakville Elementary School. First of all, why did the Oakley Elementary School take a year to send somebody to check up on her? Why has this been a year? Is the dad an ex-cop? Wow. Oh, is it asthma medicine? People are suggesting that it could be asthma medication. I don't know if you can make meth with asthma medication. I don't know. I don't cook meth. So, yeah, why did they wait a year? This is my question, Lisa Marie. Why are they waiting a year? Dad's an ex-cop, was released due to filing false claims. Okay. Okay, so yeah, this has been a year. This is crazy to me. Okay, so sorry. Oakley's parents told investigators that they last saw her alive November 30th, okay, of this year, presumably. They didn't provide any information about where the child could be. I don't understand this conversation. When's the last time you saw your daughter? November 30th. Okay, and why didn't you call the police? I mean, then they just go silent because he was an ex-police officer. He knows not to say anything. This is a Casey Anthony all over again, Stephanie. This is exactly what this is. Okay, they just went silent. Well, why did they even say that? The parents have given no indication that Oakley is in the care of an adult and cannot account for her whereabouts or condition. Police said in a news release, investigators believe Oakley would be unable to survive on her own for this length of time. First of all, I don't understand why they're only being charged with negligence for their other daughter when they admitted they last saw her November 30th, which is probably a lie, and then they said we don't know where she is. Why can't they charge them based on that? Oh, COVID and homeschooling. Christine, you are absolutely right. That is exactly right. Sorry. Very good point. I forget that some people in different areas have school and some don't. Yeah, sorry guys. That's exactly how the school missed this. You're right. But the witness did say the bus stopped coming, so there was a period of time when they were going to school. Okay, so NBC5 reports on this that Swift contacted social service after the child and Oakley's sister had a play date. Okay, together at her house. While there, Oakley's sibling became upset and said Oakley is no more. Investigators interviewed a 6-year-old who initially said her mother told her not to talk about it. Of course she did. She eventually admitted she hadn't seen her sister in a long time, so they're lying about November 30th. She began crying when a detective asked her if Oakley was hurt. This is so heartbreaking. Holy cow. So who noticed Oakley went missing? I guess the school first said welfare check. Then the neighbor had a play date with the 6-year-old sister, and the 6-year-old sister said she's gone. I think this is where it's coming to a head. Her mother, Jordan, told her not to talk about Oakley, and she had gone out to be eaten by wolves. So the mother's likely lying about that. And so they're taking the 6-year-old as saying that that's what the mother told her. Okay. However, the girl also said that she remembered the fire and everyone got out of the home except for Oakley. So they're saying there's a house fire now. And guys, I'm learning this with you. I didn't have enough time to kind of go through everything. So, okay. When police questioned Bowers about Oakley's disappearance, she allegedly became furious and refused to answer questions. Red flag alert. Furious that we're asking where your daughter is. Come on. She became enraged, yelling, clenching her fist, and refusing to answer any further questions about the welfare or well-being of her daughter. I don't know if you should arrest her at that point. Sorry. During a search of the couple's residence, police found blood splatter on the blinds near the front door, and a handprint on the wall in the downstairs hallway. They also found signs of other children being in the home, but no signs of Oakley. And they can't arrest her? What? Investigators are also looking into a fire that started on the couple's 300-acre property, everybody. 300 acres. In November, Fox 13 reports that the suspects said they didn't call for help about the fire because they could not find their cell phones. A friend set up a GoFundMe account for the pair shortly after. It's unusual that a fire department wasn't called, I would say. Swift told police she had been in the home on numerous occasions after the fire and never once saw Oakley. Oh my gosh! They have fire, blood splatter, and they don't arrest her? Breaking Bad fire, yeah. Okay. Oakley's foster mother, and here's where this gets crazy. Jamie Jo Hiles heard about the fire and contacted the Department of Children, Youth, and Family Services, DCYF, in November after seeing the GoFundMe account, which has since been deactivated. If no one has seen her, what could have happened to her? What was it, the fire? Was it something else? Hiles asked. Hiles and her husband cared for Oakley for almost 3 years. We're going to talk about this. Then in 2019, the courts gave Oakley back to her biological parents. Despite contacting social services numerous times, Hiles and her family never heard from Oakley again. We told the social services several times this wasn't a safe decision, Hiles said. We begged them, please don't let her go back. Please don't let her go back. They made a mistake, a big mistake. I told them in my last letter I was going to be on their shoulders if something happened to her. And if Jamie Jo Hiles, if you are in this chat or if you are listening to this video, please reach out to me. I would love to interview about this, okay? So exactly, she was likely taken away for a reason, right? And I want to talk about this for a little bit. And I know a little something about this type of world, okay? As an adoptive dad, we fostered first and everything else. And I know a couple of my closest friends are foster parents. We know how this works. I know it works is what I'm telling you, okay? The issue with these courts, and we've talked about this before, is that they want to reunite, despite it rarely ever being appropriate to reunite. They think that reuniting is above all, even if it's like not so bad, but it's bad. Here is the solution to this, okay? When a kid is taken away from a family, 90% of the time, that's it. You lost. You're canceled as a parent. This kid ain't coming back. Because there has to be a massive, massive reason they are going to remove a child. It's not something willy-nilly like that. It's not something they just come in and take a kid very easy. Okay? This always has to be like the last thing ever before they take a kid. So when a kid is taken from a parent for whatever reason, done. They want the money, not the kid. They do get the money. This is insane because I'm reading this and I'm saying the foster parents told the courts, told the workers, told everybody, don't, begging them to say, and if something happens, it's going to be on their shoulders. And you know what? It's not going to be on their shoulders. They're not going to be held accountable. At some point, and I may get in trouble for saying this, we got to out these people who are making these decisions that are getting kids killed. Okay? There has to be ramifications for bad choices. Everybody gets immunity in these worlds because like, well, there's so many cases and you're never going to get it all right. This kid was likely murdered, everybody. There's bloody handprints. There's blood splatter. There's a fire. There's lies. They're lost their cell phones. They're lying to police. Guys, and DCYF or whatever it's called, DCYF failed this kid. It's time to start outing the people that are allowing this to happen. It's time. Well, if he's a former cop, he probably does know how DCYF works. Also, by the way, if you're in the system or been part of the system or had DCYF, DCP, whatever in your life, okay, you know how to navigate it. These people, these low-life scumbag parents who have either had the kids taken away, got them back, they know how to navigate. They know what to do, what to say, what to clean, what to have in their house when these people come visit. Because they call you and say, we're coming to visit. Because they have to. Okay? This system is terrible. Yeah, you don't just have blood splatter on your front door for fun, and coincidentally, your child is missing, right? It's so frustrating reading these details of these cases and saying, What the hell? Like any normal person is just going to be like, you're coming down to, we have enough reasonable whatever to bring you in for questioning at the very minimum. Okay. They do give a heads up. Yeah, they do. I know they do. If there were consequences for these social workers and judges who put these children back in abuse, then maybe they take things more seriously. Exactly. They will never do this. And I highly doubt it's the workers who are doing this. I think these workers know better. I think that they're just locked into what the court has to say. And the court is always for reunification for bio parents. Always. And often, and more often, and I'm not saying always, but often enough that we talk about this a lot, the kid goes back and is either can be killed, abused, or worse. I don't know if this is worse than killing, but you know what I'm saying? Abused, and they go back in these situations, and the judge doesn't see it. They don't see anything. All the judge in these cases does is gets a piece of effing paper written by the worker or by the parent or whatever and says, here's what's going on. They are so far removed from any of these cases, they have no idea. It's always a case number. They don't see people. They don't see the children that look in their eyes. They don't talk to them. Nothing. It's just a damn case number and a file that they read and make a decision based on that. If CPS finds a problem but doesn't warrant removing the children, ongoing caseworkers are supposed to be assigned, making at minimum contact at least one per month. But does it happen? No, it doesn't. The judge always makes the final decision. A caseworker can only present the case of what they see. They say, well, here's what I'm showing you, and here's my honest assessment of the situation. And a judge often doesn't give a shit about a assessment from these workers. All the judge cares about, and for whatever reason, is like, how can we get this kid back with their bio mother? Because they think that that's better. I promise you, people, it's not better. Rarely is it better. It's usually because of addictions and everything else. And if you think that person's just going to be all like, yeah, I got it. They're like, okay, well, we're going to give your kid back and we expect you to go into therapy this time, this and this and this. And if you can show us you're doing that, good to go. And then if you don't do it, well, we'll give you a bit more leeway anyway. Oh, you didn't do it this month? No worries. Just do it next month. And they just delay. And then kids get killed. I want to know if this can be made public, the judge and the workers in these cases, so that we can at least, in some type of court of public opinion, call them out, resign. If you have ever overlooked a case and you're a judge, okay, if you've overlooked a case where a kid died because of your decision, resign. You do not belong on the bench. You clearly have no idea what you're doing. And you're just trying to get through cases. If a kid dies because of a judge's decision, a judge should be held accountable. Sorry, there are lots of people joining. So the case is Oakley Carlson, 5-year-old gone missing. The police show up and for likely something like a year, okay? And then the only way it got discovered was the school called for a welfare check and the bus stopped going there. And then the police showed up and saw blood splatter, handprints, and it was gross, okay? And then asked the mom about the kid. When's the last time you saw your kid? She said November 30th, which is okay, which was crazy. Weeks ago, and then gets mad about being asked questions. No. This is not old news. They've only been labeled missing since December 6th of this year, PB&J. This isn't last year. The missing case started December 6th, 2021, but she's been missing since last year. That's what we're seeing right now. I hope I'm right about that. I could be wrong, but I think so. Right? That's why everybody's like, what took so long? Again, if it took that long, where's DCF or DCYF in this case? They're supposed to be. If this little girl was taken away for 3 effing years from their bio parents and then given back, at minimum, there needs to be a monthly visit. So are you telling me that this DCF worker, or whatever you want to call them, neglected to go do their job for over a year? And if that's the case, resign, get them fired, put them in jail. Well, exactly. And they were charged with manslaughter. They dropped the charges of manslaughter and then charged them with not giving their other daughter who was alive her medications. That's what is going on. Yeah, the grandparents saw sick Oakley in 2020. Right, but this case didn't come, the missing case didn't happen until December 6th this month. So everything's coming to light now. So they came on December 6th. The cops are like, "Where's your daughter? I haven't seen her since November 30th. Where's she?" Then they started freaking out. This just me though. That is not how this works though. CPS needs to be involved at least for the first year of unification. Has to. That's the rules. They're asking if anyone saw her after January 2020, not 2021. Or sorry, 2021. You're right. Yes. Yeah, the parents are to blame, regardless of whether it's malicious or in a fire, or maybe she was eaten by animal, whatever. But they didn't report it. The issue, Will, and we talk about this all the time. Same thing with laundry and everything. No one was reporting anything. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. December 21st, 6th, 2021. Yeah, which is this month. Yeah, sorry, yes. Jeez, I'm confused with the dates. I can't believe it's almost 2022. Can you guys believe that? Good gracious. VA, I think people were saying in the chat, it's because of COVID and the school protocols. So can we talk about that for a second without getting, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but can we talk about the dangers of COVID that we don't see? These unseen dangers where kids are living in abusive homes and are stuck there with no avenue to escape, to talk to teachers, for mandated reporters. Can we talk about that and how no one seems to give a shit about that? That's like an elephant in the room no one wants to see. Wesley says the mother's behind her disappearance. She deserves to rot in prison. Let's go. Okay. Yeah. It sounds like the parents are absolutely involved. I have a close friend who works for DHS. I will see if the states can get info in other states. Maybe I can get the CP worker's name. Again, I'm not going to dox anybody, but what I'm looking is for the judge that saw this case, read the letter from the foster mom. Because again, a judge can't know everything. If they get the thing in front of them and they say, okay, well, based on this, whatever, it looks good. Mom's doing what they can do. I get that, right? But we know that the foster parents wrote a letter and said, begging, do not send her back. If you send her back, it's on you what happens. And she's killed. Allegedly, as far as we know. She's gone anyway. Had a 5-year-old little girl missing here in Verona, Virginia. Mother in jail. She left the little girl with her best friend. Now the couple that the kid has in jail knows. Okay. I want to see this judge. I want to know if a judge just sits there and is like, well, it is what it is. Kind of happens. Who are these people? Like, when I think of a judge, I feel like an educated person who's gone to law school, who was a lawyer, who is level-headed and understanding of the law, who just reads because I've been in family court for adoption and fostering and all this CPS stuff and all that stuff. I've been there. These judges don't give a flying shit about any of it. In my view, I sit in a court and you can watch every case come through because you're sitting there waiting for your number to be called. And you're seeing all these stories and it's all public. You can just sit in there if you want. And these judges are so far removed from this shit and they have no inkling. And I want them to be held accountable. The social worker probably likely has something to answer for if they didn't do their job. If they were supposed to go do checkups and didn't, again, why are we not talking about that? These people need to be held accountable. I don't care if you're busy, then figure it out. Especially when you have this letter in play from the foster parents. The foster parents likely talked to the DCYF agents as well and said, no, these people made their voices very loud and heard about not wanting her to go back because they knew something clearly. And with all this information, that letter right now in this case is it. They have a letter of these parents that knew something and said, don't, and still did. Yeah, this judges need to be held accountable for certain things too. Look at Waukesha. The judge and the prosecutors, these liberal prosecutors are sitting here not charging people and not asking for bail. And this Waukesha guy walks off with tiny bail and goes and kills 6 people by driving his SUV through a crowd of people. Okay. And nobody's held accountable. The government needs to, I don't know how we fix this, everybody. The government works for us. Okay. They work for us, not the other way around. When it comes to what happened in your country when they exited, when they exited the military. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it right now. Holy crap. When they dropped the bomb on the terrorists and killed a family of 10, and then came out and said, nobody's going to be held accountable because, whoops, that's this. That's the same thing. Your government self-accountables itself. I don't want to say that. Self-governs and says, well, we investigated ourselves and we found that we were not to blame. There has to be accountability. And people start getting super upset when there's no accountability. Yeah, the sister statement alone, plus the letter. The sister statement alone is crazy because she was only repeating what her mother said, which is likely a lie. Okay? It's a lie. That kid is likely on that property, buried somewhere. 300 acres. You guys know how big 300 acres is? If someone can get me the property address, I will look it up. Yeah, the dad's an ex-cop. He knows how to navigate the system, 100%. Anybody who's in DCF systems, CPS systems, they also know how to navigate the system. Catherine Green says, this hits so close to me. A girl I've seen as my niece for years was given back to her bio parents after they failed to do the things they were required to do for 3.5 years. And they just keep giving them second, third, fourth, fifth, 8th, 10th, 20 chances. There's no accountability. It's not even for the rich here. This is accountability for the judges, for the people. I don't understand it. There's no accountability ever. Director Patrick Dowd of DCYS. Got to talk to these people. Why are none of them held accountable when somebody gets murdered or killed? Well, I don't understand. Do they just okay, well, that's just another one, chalk it up in the books, and then they move on? Why is nobody getting fired at minimum or being charged with something? They failed this kid. Nobody in power is listening to the needs and experiences of people who endured the system. Right, exactly. Nor do they care about the lifelong ramifications of those who were in the system. Exactly. They don't care. This homeless people, this whole idea of kids and systems and everything else is just an inconvenience that they think they can throw money at. And they just put a Band-Aid on every time for the last 50 years. There's only been Band-Aids. It needs a complete overhaul. We've said it a million times, and they will just keep putting Band-Aids on it. Why? Why? It's an easy solution. It really, really is, everybody. This is relatively easy that can be solved with cash that you just print anyway. It's easy to solve. Hire people. Hold people accountable. Hold judges accountable. Okay, hire more people. Hire. Pay them a lot of money. Okay? Let them have a normal semblance of life. Don't overwork them. Pay them more. Oakley's 5 years old. Washington State, yeah. Was this child gone before the fire? Did the article say when the fire was? It doesn't say when the fire was. So I'm looking for it. 300-acre property. Holy crap. Unbelievable. Yeah, she went missing at 4, and then the parents were arraigned on her birthday when she turned 5. It's not clear who reported her missing. It looks like it was a checkup, a welfare check. The school asked the police to do a welfare check. Did COVID stop CPS from going inside house? I don't care. Shouldn't. There are certain things that you just, sorry, doesn't matter. You're in that situation. You have to figure out. COVID should not stop you from protecting children. Ever. It's like a hospital. It's not going to stop people. You need those people. Okay. It's like police arresting you. You're going to do it still. This is not something that COVID could be blamed for. You cannot just say, well, COVID's here, so we're going to let all these kids who are in danger just have to fend for themselves. And they sort of did when they were not able to go to school, everybody. That's kind of sort of what happened. Just so you guys are aware. A neighbor reported after the oldest daughter had a play date with somebody else and said she is no more. At the time she went missing, We had children in our home about an hour away where Oakley is from. The social worker had no problem coming into our home. Yeah, exactly. Also did video chats. This is crazy. They stopped CPS from going inside in California. Well, that's California. At least you can knock on the door and say, hey, doing a checkup, just go there. Go there and peek in the house. Sorry. Just put your mask on. Everybody else had to wear a mask. Just put a mask on. The mask solves everything. Okay, give them an N95 mask. Teach them how to fit it on their face. Send them off. COVID is you're never going to convince me that COVID is a good enough excuse to leave kids hanging. Never. My son's dad used COVID to keep CPS from coming in their house, taking the classes and all the drug tests we're supposed to do. Exactly. You guys aren't seeing this. This crazy ramification that COVID has left kids in danger. Nobody, and again, you're not allowed to talk about it because then you're an anti-vaxxer, QAnon. That's what you are. Give me an effing break. How many kids have died because of the way that we're treating this? Okay, in Canada. Okay, sorry. Even worse. Yeah, bring the kids. I want to see the kid and talk to them. Bring them to the door. I'll speak to them through the door. I'll speak to them on the phone. FaceTime them. There's nobody yet. Nope. And that's why they go silent. They're not, if they don't say anything, nobody, no crime. But again, how can you not arrest parents who said, well, last time we saw her was like 2 weeks ago. Okay, well, where's she now? And then you say nothing. And then you just, okay, thanks. Have a great day, ma'am. And you walk away. Unbelievable. I'm so pissed at this. There's another article here on the new New York Post. Show it to you guys quick. Someone else said this, Jenna, that they expected that the other kid may have had asthma and the parents were using the inhaler to make drugs. Can you do that? You make drugs out of an inhaler? I mean, these people who do this shit, they should just work in an industry of science and shit, because clearly they're smart enough to make drugs out of inhalers. Why don't you use your friggin' brains for something good? Wow. Okay. Washington state officials called off the search for missing 5-year-old girl after her sister told authorities she was eaten by wolves. Oakley Carlson was reported missing on December 6th, but was last seen almost a year ago. Grays Harbor County officials said her 6-year-old sister told her principal's daughter, okay, here we go, Oakley is no more. So that's when the principal called for a welfare check. According to police reports obtained by Seattle KCPQ, she also reportedly told police that their mother, Jordan Bowers, told her not to talk about Oakley. He said he's been worried about her starving because the missing 9-year-old girl's brother, so this is the older brother, told authorities that her mother beat Oakley with a belt and would put Oakley in the closet, possibly under the stairwell. According to the report, he also said he has been worried about her starving. Oh my God. This judge let this kid go back into the situation, likely after she was taken out of the situation. Bowers and father Andrew Carlson were charged with second-degree child abandonment in connection with their care of her sister after they allegedly did not give her vital medicine for 15 months and are being held under suspicion of manslaughter. At least they're in jail for sure. The parents have given no indication that Oakley is in the care of an adult and cannot account for her whereabouts or condition. Police reportedly called off a search in the area around family Oakville home on Monday in the wake of her siblings' claim. Why would they call it off? So, no. The likelihood of Oakley Carlson being alive is not very good at this point, Grays Harbor County Undersheriff Brad Johansson told KCPQ. No, judges can't be charged with anything, Aubrey. That's why we're pissed, because they should be. They should be. He had in front of him the case and had this letter from the foster mom that said, please don't send her back. And if you do, this is on you. And look what happened. I hope this mother comes out in the public and outs these people. My platform is here for you if you're listening to this. Foster mom and dad, if you are listening to this, please come talk to me. Or anybody. Find a creator that's talking about this stuff and please go out the people that did this. Yeah. The judge resigns. That's what happens here. At minimum. again, Miss Ellen, I said this at the beginning. I know you probably missed it. They don't ever ask the child because the child is never asked. They don't come into the court. The judge just literally will bring, hey, CPS worker that represents the kid, stand up. Hey, CPS worker that represents the mom, stand up. And they're always in opposition. Okay, it's like they're the lawyers. Okay, and then they give their assessment. A judge will never speak to a child, rarely anyway, in rare circumstances. The child is never considered here. It's only the mother that's considered, always. And they always want this kid 98% of the time to be reunited with a birth parent because they think it's better. When more often than not, and I say that confidently, more often than not, it is not a good idea. Ask any foster parent. It is not a good idea. Sometimes, yes, the mother or father can go get help and they've proved it. And yes, I get that. Reunification can be important. Okay. If every protocol is followed through with and they've gotten the help they needed. Yes, but it's rare. Okay. It's like you can measure it on the tip of a needle, how often that actually they follow through with getting the help they need. Very rare. The children do sometimes attend court and they always have a lawyer appointed. Yes, kid always has a lawyer appointed. In my situation, and anytime I've ever went to court, I've never saw a kid once in court. Never once. Never once. Just their lawyer. And my kids had their lawyer. Their mom had the lawyer court appointed. And the lawyer just spoke for the kids. So he'd come to our house, take the kid's statement, get all the data she needed, and then she would represent them in the court. The judge never speaks to the child. Not in my case. Not in anything I've ever seen. And I've extensively been here and spent a lot of money. Yeah, Will, you've been in the system. They just taken where they decided to put you. You have no choice to say. You couldn't speak to a judge and say, Judge, here's somewhere I'd like to be. They don't because they want plausible deniability. They don't want to talk to the kids. Guardian ad litem is appointed to the children. Yes. My brother's kids don't go to court appointments. We all know this, guys. I'm telling you the truth, basically. I'm not saying it's 100% that way and it's a blanket, but it's in my situation, in my experience, this is exactly what happens. Yeah, so everybody who's been in this area knows this. Maybe this is what needs to be overhauled. Judges need to look these kids in the eyes and say, you tell me your story, young man or young lady. Tell me what's going on. I would like to hear it from your mouth. It's because they don't want to. They think the kids are going to lie every time or whatever. Or they don't want to look them in the eye. Or it takes too much time because they got a lot to do. Judges are busy, you know. They got shit to do. They got to be late for their appointments and shit like that. They got to sit there and get paid $250,000 a year to throw people's lives away. Oh, that was Gus. Can you close that, please? Wes, you guys, no, you can't come in, buddy. Close the door. Thank you. This kid is up at 9:48. Excuse me, he's supposed to be in bed an hour ago. Unbelievable. Well, we're doing a road trip for he's very excited because we're going to a hotel with a pool because that's all we can do. Anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Anybody else? Okay, so there's another article here, and I've asked this girl. Her name is Niran Al Agba, and I want to read this article to you guys real quick. Yep. This is another thing about the system. Sorry, I'll get to this article in a second. Another thing about the system is when a mother has her kids apprehended and taken away, if she has another kid, it's like, oh, it's all fresh start. This is a new kid, new file. It doesn't, it's like all the shit that this mother has done is erased because they had a new kid. This kid is a new case file. And they just continue to have more and more and more and more kids. It's crazy. Twin mama, I'm not saying that reunification, and I know what you're saying here, it should not be a priority. I'm just saying it needs to be proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that the mother is ready. And it never is. It's always like, do you promise to do this court-appointed thing, which might be therapy, might be going to this meeting once a week, might be this, that, and the other thing. And the mom just says, yep. And then they don't do it, and they don't get called back into court for like 5 years because it's so delayed. So they don't care. Sorry, I'm passionate about this. Judges don't give a shit, everybody. And we need more judges who do give a shit. I'm sure there are some judges who do give a shit, by the way. I'm not saying they all do, but in my experience, and I have lengthy experience in this, I've never met a judge who cared. Never once. Just collecting their public paycheck on the sunshine list. All of them are. What will it take? Well, clearly not murder, because they don't seem to give a shit. So at this point, we lose all hope because, and this is why it's so sad, we lose all hope because there's nothing we can do. I know a little bit about Summer Wells, but everybody's covered that case. I don't know what's going on with it, really. I might dive into it. I don't know. But honestly, if they would make it easier for women to get fixed, how many of these child would end up like this? Like, what do you mean? Like, are you saying, like, make them sterilize them? Or are you saying women should have the choice to like tie their tubes or something? I don't know what you're saying there. Yeah, my lengthy experience is not just in one case in one jurisdiction. Okay, like I said, if you're in this community, you're in a community of like-minded people who adopt and foster. And we all talk. We're on Facebook groups. We're in this. I'm talking to a million other people who foster. People come in this chat alone and say the same thing I'm saying. Are you saying I'm wrong, Miss Lily Mason? That's what you're saying? Again, we're talking right now about a girl who likely was murdered by her parents when this foster mom said not to go back. So I don't know what you're trying to say. Are we wrong here? No, this happens more than it ever should. If it happens once, that's too many times. Is it hard to get a hysterectomy? Wow, that's stupid. Your body, you should be able to do the hell you want with it. That's stupid. Yeah. Maybe judges should actually, again, speak to the children that they're putting into the situations. Who does this affect the most? The children. Cares about the mother. She already lost it. So too bad. So sad, lady. You're the one who messed up. So we always forget that the person this affects the most is the kid. The trauma, the attachment disorders, everything that happens to them. They don't give a shit. It's almost like, okay, it doesn't matter of all the trauma they already suffered. It looks like mom's going to go to counseling. You can go home now. What? Unbelievable. Okay, let me read this article. Sorry, guys. Okay. So Niran Alagba, we've got to do better protecting kids in need. So she's writing about this, published today. Okay, those who read this column know I've been frustrated with child protective services for a long time. After the recent disappearance of 5-year-old Oakley Carlson in Oakville, Washington, I think it's time to revisit this topic once more and recall a personal case from Kitsap as another reminder that we can do better. I would love to know, actually, I don't want to love to, I say that for lack of a better term. How many kids have died because of negligent judges and people who are not protecting them properly? How many? How many? I bet you it's in the thousands. It's too many. Let's be real. It was more than 12 years ago when I met him. But I remember Aiden Barnum like it was yesterday. He was born 6 weeks after I gave birth to my first child. Like my own son, Aiden was completely healthy. When he was 12 days old, I had just returned from a 2-month-long maternity leave. Aiden sustained a fracture to his arm. 6 different physicians at Harrison Medical Center and Mary Bridge Children's Hospital suspected the injury was due to abuse at the hand of his 70-year-old father, Jacob Mejia. However, a child abuse expert at Mary Bridge Children's Hospital disagreed. Okay. Opining that the injury was probably accidental and could be consistent with aggressive swaddling. Despite warnings from physicians and hospital staff, the CPS social worker, Heather Lofgren, ignored the other physicians and relied on the opinion of just one, the Mary Bridge doctor. So she ignored all the other ones and took the doctor's opinion, who said, no, all good. Okay? Aiden was placed back into the custody of his father with little more than a handwritten safety plan. My father and I struggled with the expert's decision. We were concerned the injury was not accidental. My father contacted Mary Bridge to discuss the case, but was reassured there would be close follow-up by CPS. Lofgren, who has since been promoted to a supervisory position at CPS, should have spoken to law enforcement, interviewed the physicians, reviewed medical records, and checked in on the family regularly. Records indicate that after sending Aiden home, Lofgren simply forgot about him. Sound familiar in this case? She ignored mandatory protocols and state law regarding follow-up for this child. Did not follow up. In fact, no one checked up on him at home during the interim time period. On December 23rd, 2008, Aiden landed back in the emergency department. This time his injuries were far worse. He had a broken collarbone, a broken arm, and 4 broken ribs. In addition, Aiden's traumatic brain surgery, which involved a fractured skull and a brain bleed, left him permanently disabled. I remember the evening when my father stopped by my house on his way home and told me what had happened to Aiden. He was crying. I was sitting in my living room and nursing my 2-month-old son when he delivered the news. I started crying. My tears were as much about Aiden's broken skull as they were about my broken heart, both as a pediatrician and as a brand new mother. Ever since, with every milestone my oldest son achieves, my thoughts return to Aiden, who will need lifelong assistance to eat, drink, and bathe. That night, I knew Aiden would never read, walk, or talk. He would never write his own name, draw a picture, or tell a funny story. The assault left him legally deaf, blind, and wheelchair dependent. He developed cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and autism. In 2011, Maggio was sentenced to serve 25 years in prison after being convicted of first-degree assault and second-degree criminal mistreatment. When Aiden's adoptive parents, the Barnums, sued DSHS in 2012 for not protecting their son, a jury unanimously found CPS to be negligent, and in 2017, the Port Orchard family was awarded $5 million. In my opinion, they were. And while Aiden's act introduced some changes to better protect children, the story of Oakley Carlson, the 5-year-old child returned to the custody of her biological parents, who is now missing, reminds me that not enough has been done. In my experience, most social workers are doing the best they can. The department routinely expects social workers to make medical decisions without proper training and oversight. Another example is the story of Carrion R. Franks, a 15-year-old Vancouver boy who died from starvation. I just wanted to get that out. There's so much there. Guys, if you read this story and see all these many stories, okay, why we still talk about it? Because it happened again, and it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. Why? What is this big? Where's the psychology and the study on sending a kid back to an abusive family? I'd like to know the data on the success rate of all that, because I guarantee you it's low. Even if the kid doesn't get murdered, they're still going back into a toxic situation where trauma will haunt them for the rest of their lives, and they will likely cycle back into that and become that person to their own children. Drug addiction, homelessness, alcoholism, all that shit happens because they cycle back in, and it's always the fault of the judges who decide to send them back. Always. You sent me an email? Okay, let me take a look at it here. I want to see this land. Okay, go. And a 6-year-old little girl came into my class, literally blood running down her legs, and she was back with the man who hired her within 3 months. You imagine? How? How does that happen? I don't see an email here. Sorry, I don't see it. Sorry, guys. Family law is the hardest thing to practice. I've avoided it at all costs. No one wins. Well, we need good people to take it over and start making cases that are creating precedents. We need better lawyers in it. I have an abusive stepdad. We should have been taken away. I'm happy we didn't, but I have a lot of trauma. Yeah, I look back at my childhood. There's no reason I should have been left. Yes, I told you this a bunch of times. I was left for 3 weeks by myself. I was 12? 3 weeks. Shit. I know the 80s and 90s are a little different time, but damn. I look back on the shit that I had to deal with, and it was never an option to be taken out because no one cared. There's just nobody who reached out. Yeah, we need to change reunification. and start saying it's okay, normalizing not reunification. Normalize it. Put that kid in a safe, loving home. Sorry, they can visit with their parents. If it's structured and everything else, sure. Don't stop sending them back. Stop sending them back, especially into like super low income, crazy situations with parents who have no jobs, no money, drug addicts, and alcoholism and all that stuff. And without checking on them, like, I mean, come on, guys, this is simplest shit ever. Yeah, half the time they believe the parents by what they say, and they shouldn't. The child gets called a liar, right? This is why the Sophie Long case is such a big deal, because we believe the girl who was screaming, and I would too. I believe the kids. Yeah, Catherine, and amazing for you for being a foster mom. Incredible that you do that. And I want to give everybody who fosters a big ol' you're awesome. Let me send you some peanut butter, okay? Some Kraft peanut butter. But the most heartbreaking thing about fostering, which is why I won't do it, to be honest with you, is having to send kids back after loving and doting and keeping them safe for, it could be years. In this case, it was 3 years, and then sending them back to shit after literally they lived the life they should have been living. And a judge is like, well, it's about time to go back to your abusive family that has no money, no car, no way of doing anything. Sounds good. Instead of this loving, amazing family. And I'm not saying they all are like that, but you know, the ones I know are loving and amazing. Okay. The ones who volunteer to do that are incredible. It takes an incredible person. Okay. And they take them out of the situation that they could have thrived in and put them back in the shit that they often get taken out again from. Oh my God. If you are removed from your family, like if you have had kids removed from you, to me, done. Sorry, you're done. I just sent back 2 babies. I had them for 2 years. Holy shit. It's so scary. It's so heartbreaking that you can do that. I mean, it's not heartbreaking you can do that. It's amazing you can do that, but it's heartbreaking. It takes really special people to be able to do that, because you guys are literally traumatically scarred yourselves from having to pour out all of your love and attention into these children, for them to just go back and all of it, not all the time, but sometimes it just completely gets reversed. Yeah, there are some great foster parents again. And you guys might not like this. A lot of people don't go to church, but the best damn foster parents are people of faith. Not all the time, mind you, but I've known at least 10 foster families, 10, at minimum 10, maybe more. Like I could probably list them off right in my head right now. And all of them were amazing. And those kids thrived. You got to let the faith-based people have a little bit more. I don't care if you're like, well, we don't want to raise them in church. Raise them in church. Better than going home getting murdered. Okay? For real, it is. Anyway, I think that you might have to start doing things like the Brian Laundrie situation, where you go and you have to start, how do you say this nicely without getting in trouble? Peacefully protesting outside of police stations and CPS, DCYS, and courts, peacefully protesting these people and calling them out on their behavior and getting mainstream media involved and saying, we are here protesting this judge who sent this child back to be killed. Protesting the police departments to say, do your job, go find this girl. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. You can't overthrow judges. The only thing you can do is hold them. Judges, the only way you can really get a judge held accountable for what they've done is they break the law. Okay. And in this case, they're not breaking any laws, everybody. And they're protected because it's a case number. And they're like, well, I can't remember everything. They don't. They read a freaking file and then they make a decision without meeting a human. And if the human that they are meeting is likely the mother standing up and saying, yes, judge, I'll do everything you need me to do. And then they don't do shit more often than not. Okay. But if we protest, if we get people aligned in these types of situations, people will start being held accountable and maybe they'll stop doing it. Yeah. Responsibly exercising your First Amendment rights. Start getting these people called out. You don't dox them, nothing like that. But you go to the courthouses where this shit happens and you peacefully protest and you attract media's attention. Yeah, again, the law has its hands tied to a degree as well. Because imagine being a cop going to this lady's house and saying, "Hey, when's the last time you saw your daughter?" November 30th. Okay, that's like a week ago. Where's she now? And then they freak out, and then you're like, "Well, you're under arrest." Like, I don't understand that shit. What? It also looks like the property backs up to 100 of acres state land that is heavily forested. Do you have that? Can you someone send me that? I want to look at it. Why do the parents try to get the kids back? I'll tell you why, especially in Ontario. It's because they get baby bonuses and welfare gives you more money if you have kids. They are money bags in Ontario specifically. I don't know about your states where you guys live. In Ontario, for every kid that you have, if you're on welfare, man, I've seen some situations in houses. I don't want to say who, and I won't say or name anything, but I've seen houses with 15 kids in them in a 3-bedroom house. They came from like Somalia or something like that. They come and they live here and they have more kids and more kids and more kids, 15 kids, and you're on the dole, which is welfare, and you get baby bonuses because Ontario gives you a child benefit for having kids. Okay. They make so much money and they want their kid because they will lose that money if the kid is not in their care anymore. They will lose the baby bonus and they will lose the extra money they get in welfare. For every kid you have, you get way more money. So I don't know if that's the case in these states. Something tells me it likely might be, but you get money here. And that's why some parents really want to hang on to their kids. Our community is absolutely disgusted about Oakley. Please keep covering Oakley. I live in Aberdeen, just 20 minutes from Oakville. Oakley's case needs this attention. Well, Sarah, if you know the foster parents, please tell them to reach out to me. Or you get paid well to foster and adopt. Okay, well, I mean, again, I can only speak about our laws here that these moms on welfare get tons of money the more kids they have, like a lot. Nothing is more valuable than an intact family, unless that family is abusing kids. So yeah, there's way more. You know what? Nothing's more valuable than a protective parent, whether or not that's biological or not. As someone who's been on welfare out of desperation, welfare makes it so easy to stay on it with absolutely no reason to ever get off it. Well, yeah, Rach, this is exactly it. You're dead on. I've never been on welfare, very close. Well, I mean, my whole life, my mother was on welfare, but welfare, especially in Ontario with kids, I mean, these people are pulling in something like 40 grand a year, plus all the benefits and programs they can take advantage of if you're good at navigating the system. There's a lot to be had. There's no incentive to work in a socialized country. We're this close to socialism in Canada for all intents and purposes. Our medical system is socialized. Our school is socialized. Our welfare system is socialized. And they basically they really want people to give you free money to do nothing. That's basically what's going on here. Okay. And I know from experience, I'm not saying it like other people are like, well, how do you know? I know. It's easy. It's easy to navigate the system when you've been in it most of your life too. So you're right. As someone in Rachel, you know, it's to get off that is really hard because when you become dependent on the government and you don't have to work, you can stay home all day long. That becomes your life and it becomes a way of life. And to go back to work is likely really hard for a lot of people who've been living on welfare their whole lives. They don't know. You can make more money working in the real world, but they don't care. They'd rather do nothing and make a little bit. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people in my life who've been on welfare like, hey, can I have some money? I'm like, well, where's your money? And they spend every penny of it before they even get it. And then they have no groceries. They can't buy their kids food or clothes, and then they have to beg people for it. And there's so many social programs for that. And yet they're still making thousands of dollars a month and living in offset housing. So only rent is only $100. It's crazy, man. Here, welfare, you don't have to, like you live in subsidized housing. So your rent's like $50. It's crazy. It's almost like free. Oakville, Washington. I live in Aberdeen, the same town the dad, Andrew Carlson, was a police officer. Please give this attention. We want Oakley's case national. They lived in 300 acres. Yes. Yeah, we were getting there. Again, if you know the foster parents, please let them know we're talking about this. What's sad is it's easier to stay on welfare than get emergency housing system to prevent welfare need. I mean, the system here, how you navigate the system in Ontario is if you're a woman, all you have to do is claim you're abused and go stay at a woman's shelter, and they will fast track you into housing. And so I know this because I know it. And if you could just go stay at a shelter and say I'm homeless, they'll put you on a list and you get ahead of the list because government funded housing wait list is like 3 to 7 years. If you have kids and you are staying at a woman's shelter, they're getting you out of there ASAP and you are put on the top of the list. So there are ways of navigating the system here. It's a good question, Mary. Where are the siblings? The 6-year-old and the 9-year-old. Welfare in Canada, if you can get into housing as cheap as rent based off income, right? So if you're on welfare, you have no income. I had an attached 3-bedroom that I believe it paid under $400. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Yes, Joy, if you had a neighbor, they were 300 acres. Their nearest neighbor is like a kilometer down the road, so likely didn't connect. Siblings in protective custody, hopefully. Dang, so scary. $300 acres, I know. If you had 300 acres here, you're definitely a multi-millionaire. The parents are, I think, in custody at this point, yes. The 9-year-old went to the bio father about a year ago. Thank God. Wow. This is so sad, Janie. Where I live in Wisconsin, there's no subsidized housing in our county anymore. Why? They've all been brought up by developers. How could you sell subsidized housing to developers? Now all the families in need are displaced out of the school system. They do that on purpose. By the way, everybody, this is what's called class privilege again. Yeah, we did. Foster's mom is Jamie Jo Hiles. That's in the article that we did read. Yeah, thank you. Why is everyone trying to live off welfare? Is it actually a disability? Why don't they get jobs? I don't get it. Literally everywhere is hiring. In Canada, it's a little bit different. If you can collect ODSB for whatever reason, if you can say claim mental illness, not only will you get welfare, but you'll get ODSB, which is like an extra $1,200 or $1,300 a month on top of what you're already collecting. Because I think what happens is you create a dependent person. The government wants dependent people. I don't think you guys realize this. The government loves welfare. They love it, especially social governments like mine. They love giving out free shit to everybody. They love the fact that they don't want you to go to work. It's so weird to me. Okay. But if you're living at home and you're collecting $3,500 to $4,000 a month, depending on your situation, if you have 2 kids, if you have ODSP, are you going to really go back to work? I mean, don't make that much. Let's say you make $1,500 a month. Okay. But you don't have to do anything to get it. You don't have to work. You don't have to prove anything. You just sit at home. They're creating this whole subset of people who do nothing. All they do is take. They take. When it's only meant to be there for emergencies, when you're getting out of an abusive relationship or you got fired or whatever the case may be, it's only meant to be temporary. So many people will live off welfare for their entire lives and the government does nothing. So they can control you more. Cue the QAnons. Oh, here's QAnon. Sorry. I lived on welfare for more than half of my life when I was a young adult. And I know what it's like to not have groceries, to have your mom who's on welfare take that money and go spend it on alcohol. And then you have to eat butter noodles for a week, 2 weeks before groceries come. When you're growing up on welfare as a child, grocery day is literally once a month. Okay. And those groceries last 3 or 4 days because you're like hungry. You eat it all. You end up waiting 25 more days before you can get groceries again. Welfare is the most dangerous thing for kids to grow up on because parents who are on welfare likely, not all, in high percentages, make bad money decisions. How do you think they got there in the first place? And so they make bad money decisions anyway. As soon as they get the money, it's gone. They buy stupid shit. The low-income housing that I know of, where I know someone lives, there are Jaguars parked in the driveway. There's a BMW. There's new Mazdas. What the F? I know it's kind of switch the conversation to this, but it's an important topic. Yes. So this is a very good comment. Amazing Maisie Rottweiler. I think I have an eating disorder now from being poor. I would do anything not to be disabled and able to work again. I hear you. This is another thing people don't realize, that there's so many eating disorders that come out from being poor because you always have a terrible diet. The government doesn't give a shit. You cannot afford a healthy diet if you're on welfare. Impossible. Impossible. And this isn't a disparage against people who take welfare, okay? This is a disparage about the government who enables people to not give them incentives to go lead a better life or give them the programs they need to succeed. Yeah. Mayo sandwiches. I remember mayonnaise sandwiches. If you guys don't know mayo sandwiches, you haven't lived. I call it welfare pasta for lack of a better term because my mom called it. But you just get elbow noodles, 2 cans of tomato soup, a pound of ground beef if you can find it cheap, okay? And you throw in the tomato soup, the noodles, the ground beef, and cheese whiz. Boom! That feeds you for 3 days. No wonder, You guys got mayo? Just because the food bank often had mayo. We don't see Sherry Thomas. That doesn't happen in Canada. We don't have food stamps here. You can't go to a grocery store and use government like stamps. Only thing you can do in Canada is go to food banks, often run by churches, and they'll give you food. And it's what they've been given and donated. So you can't choose. They just give you whatever they can give you. Right. And they'll pick it out for you and all that stuff. Syrup sandwiches. Nothing better than a piece of toast with margarine, cinnamon, and sugar. Boom! Living the dream. Okay, yes, I do make it all the time. You can take the kid out of the ghetto, but you can't take the kid out of the kid. I love it. It's delicious. I just get better cheese this time. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. They used to have a cinnamon spread. I'm sorry, we keep getting. Sometimes you just need a palate cleanser. They used to have a cinnamon spread you could buy in Canada, and they don't sell it anymore. And I researched it, and I think it was had cancerous agents in it. That's why they don't sell it anymore. So cinnamon toast was you're living the dream. You get some cinnamon toast, you're like, damn, that's good, yo. Sup? And the thing about living on welfare is that when you get into a situation like when I went to college, when I could eat whatever I wanted because there was a food court or I paid for the meal plan and you could just eat. I gained 30 pounds because I couldn't stop because I was food insecure. Food insecurity is a big, big thing too, right? So something we got to talk about. All right, it's time to everybody who comes from poor backgrounds, just list the best food that your mom made. My mom used to make rice. Okay, she would make rice, put it in a frying pan with a pound of ground beef, soy sauce, and fry it up. Boom. 2-3 days. I'm gonna go make some cinnamon sugar bread after this. Not gonna lie to you guys. Mayo Sammy's. I love it, you guys. You guys are fun. This is a serious topic, but at the same time, I like that we can connect on this level. A lot of people don't. Some people who didn't grow up poor don't realize this, but it's all tied together in this craziness, right? That these kids have to suffer through. And not only are a lot of kids food insecure, they're also abused. They're mentally, physically abused. They're abandoned, a lot of them. So it's very, very crazy. Mac and cheese with hot dogs. Oh yeah, that's a little bit rich for my blood, but yeah, I'll give you that. Or beans and wieners with toast. Mayo and tomato sandwiches. That's still high class though. I'm not gonna lie. Mayo tomato sandwiches with salt and pepper. Fried bologna. Rika, we are soulmates, you and I. You get the big tube of fried, get the thick sliced bologna. Boom! Fried bologna. Yes. Ketchup. Spam. I don't know. I never ate spam. We're going back. Minute rice scrambled eggs. Not bad. I think, yeah, a lot of us can come here and talk with this and we can speak from a position of understanding because we lived it. Egg noodles. Egg noodles are still good. Franken beans, a little bit of toast. But it has to be Franken beans in tomato sauce, not the other one. Oh, remember Alphagetti? Alphagetti. Lots of eggs. Yeah, eggs are cheap. You know, my kids too, to this day, my teenagers, they eat tons of eggs just because it's just Hamburger Helper. Man, that plugs you up, but it's good. Hamburger Helper's like a treat, though. You come home and Hamburger Helper's done, you're like, what? Is the queen coming over? Yeah, let's do this. You know what's actually pretty good? French fries with ranch dressing, and if you can spare it, cheese. Maybe a little bacon bits if you want to live a little dangerous. Damn. Here's the thing. I grew up poor. I never ate ramen until I was out on my own, like in my 20s. Never touched ramen. Fried potatoes. Yes. Peanut butter sandwich is a staple, solid, delicious. Yeah. Taylor, just helper. We're just having helper tonight. Loaded fries. Yeah. I think my sister called them Outback fries. So many fried potatoes. Powdered milk. My mom used to buy these big ass giant, or get them. I don't know if they were given to her. Like, I feel like in my head, because I was a small kid, there was like a bag that I could literally fit in. Huge bag of puffed wheat. I have to show you this. Puffed wheat. Like, I don't know if the government gave it to us. Like, huge bag of puffed wheat that was the size of my body. Everybody knows I'm talking about puffed wheat. Dang. Here it is. Puffed wheat, yo. Does anybody remember puffed wheat? Chef Boyardee, to this day, still a treat. It's still a treat. Cream of wheat. Ugh. No. Is there a new brand of ramen that's healthier? Ooh. That's actually sounds good, Melissa Sue. Hamburger gravy over rice. I'm not gonna lie. Tuna helper was always like, really? You bought tuna helper? Oh, but tuna was cheap when I was young, so I get that. SpaghettiOs, yes. Yeah, I see this a lot. Government cheese. Is this actually a thing? Government cheese? Government cheese. I'm gonna Google it. Is it still a thing? What the heck? Huge block of cheese. There's Roni. Okay, I'm looking up this block of cheese. OMG, you guys. What a different world you lived in. Oh, hey, Ron. Want to come say hi? Come here. Oh, Roni. Oh, Roni. There it is. American cheese. Like, was it is it like Cheese Whiz style cheese or like? Okay. Gosh, leave them alone, man. You don't get special cheese? That sucks. Fried potato, hot dog staple. You ever do this? You cut hot dogs in half, boil, fry them, put them on bread, hot dog sandwiches. Because I don't like you know, just a piece of bread is a bun, but make a hot dog sandwich. Patreon. Okay, let me check. Spaghetti hot dog. Butter noodles, man. Can't beat it. Man, when you get Nutella, though, like if you got Nutella at the food bank, that shit was gone in half an hour. Okay? I would eat the entire jar. Man, I was fat when I was young. Okay, sorry. Mac and cheese, solid. Mom used to take home Kraft peanut butter packets. My mom used to, when she was a waitress for a little while, would bring home toilet paper. I didn't have Nutella till I was 25, married, had my first child. And then now what do you think of it, V? Right? It's like, you got Chinese food? We had Chinese food once a year when I was poor. Maybe. Yeah, my daughter loves butter noodles. Loves it. Condiment sandwich. Oh, man, I want some cinnamon toast now. Like, I haven't had it in 100 years, but I want it. Nothing better than a jam sandwich. Jam Sammy. Ew, mushroom soup. Couldn't do mushroom soup. Can't do mushroom soup. You take that back, lemonade stand. Take it back. Oh. What's up, Goose? Diet water. Okay, why do you keep opening the door? Bologna and cheese. Nothing better than bologna. Kool-Aid. Yep. Look-Aid. Is that the off-brand Kool-Aid? Whew, living the dream there. Tortilla with lunch meat, American slice. Yeah, that sounds delish. Yeah, elbow noodles, tomato soup, and cheese whiz. That's the welfare pasta, and I still make it once a year, just to take me back. Yeah, Gus opened the door. Gus like, dude, you stink, bro. Come say hi, Gus. You want to say hi? Do you want to say hi? He's getting fluffsters. He's getting flusters. Who's a good boy? You good boy? What are you doing, huh? What are you doing? Bacon? You got bacon? Velveeta, though, that's high class, Miranda. That's high class. Nothing better than a nice, here you go, piece of bread in the toaster, margarine, a little bit of peanut butter, let it melt. We are the tribe here, guys. You guys have found your tribe here if you've lived like that. And if you grew up rich, that's cool. If you guys grew up rich, anybody in this chat grew up really kind of wealthy, what did you eat? I need to know what you ate. What was your, like, what did you eat? Like home cooked meals with veggies and shit? Don't be ashamed. Welch's in a big metal can. So dangerous. Yeah, margarine's all right, though. Nothing wrong with margarine. I still buy margarine. My husband's mom used to make hot dogs, elbow noodles, and tomato soup. Yeah, it's still good. Fry them, boil the hot dogs, cut them up, then fry them. Hamburger helper, not hamburger helper. What's the oh my goodness. It's like Sloppy Joe's, but what's the name of it? Butter on saltines. Yep. Not wealthy, not bad, but my parents paid everything with cash, so I ate the exact same. What's one thing you guys have overcome that you splurge on now that you don't have to worry about it? Yeah, that's a lot of kids, man. I grew up rich, but ate what you guys ate. Well, I guess we all lived kind of good then. It's not Sloppy Joe's. Manwich. Just Jake got it. Manwich. I have 2 cans up in my cupboard right now, Manwich. Yeah, the thing is, when you grow up poor, you are fat because you only eat bad food. There's no nutrition for you. So I don't know why we got into this, but whatever. Yeah, I now grocery shop without adding the total. Same. I look off into the distance when pumping gas in my van. I just buy what I want now, and it's kind of awesome, not gonna lie. Sometimes but I don't go shopping when I'm hungry. So I go shopping when I'm hungry. Shit's double the price. Manwich, so good. I still buy Manwich. Sometimes you get to the end and you're like, oh shit, I definitely bought too much shit. Yeah, not choosing which bills to pay. And it's just still people who are food insecure, money insecure, and it sucks. But the thing about these systems is these kids cycle back into it. Once a week, dude. Will, you're gonna be jealous, but I do a lot of work for my buddy who owns Chicago Steak Company, and I have a freezer full of steak for free. You want to see it? You want to see it? Okay, hold on. Steak. Yeah, don't shop when you're starving. Look at that. It's a T-bone. Yeah, and it's as big as my head, so. And when I was growing up, the thing is too, one thing I never had was steak. I swear to God, I'm not lying to you guys. I never had a good steak until I was 30. I never knew because we never could afford it. And now that I know that steak is good, I tried it. I can't eat a ton of steak anyway because my stomach's small, but dang, look at this. This is a New York strip. Look at the size of this New York strip. Look how thick this is. Look at this steak. Okay. Look at it. And I think this is a premium Angus tenderloin tip. It's tips. Like you can make something out of that. China Blue, have you ever had tickler cheese? And if you haven't, please go try it. Yeah, instant oatmeal. Just put water on it and you stir it up and eat it. You don't even put it in the microwave. I never had steak growing up ever, never tried it. And then when I got 30, I had a good steak and I'm like, what is my life? I consider myself a late bloomer. I call myself a late bloomer in all these things I could never do because I never had money to do them. And now that I try them late, I'm sort of glad I can experience them later, but I'm sad I didn't get to experience some of the shit. Right? We didn't have a car. My first car, I was like 25 or something like that. Yeah, I'm showing off this. Look at this T-bone. USDA Prime Porterhouse. This is a porterhouse. Go try tickler cheese. I'm not joking. You're welcome. You guys want to know how to cook a steak? Here's how it does. Will doesn't know anything. Here's what you do now that I do it because I have to film it, right? Do it for my friend. Here's how you do it. You obviously fridge thaw it. Yeah, it is. You fridge thaw it, take it out, let it bloom on the counter for an hour. Okay, after it's thawed in the fridge. So you're letting it bloom. Then you spice it. Okay, salt and pepper. That's it. That's all you need, or Chicago steak spice, which is really good. This stuff is amazing, by the way. Okay. Then what you do, is you heat up a skillet as hot as you can get a skillet, okay? And you put your steak in butter. Dip it in butter, then you skillet. You freaking sear the shit out of that. Both sides twice till you get a really thick crust. You put your thermometer in it and you put it in indirect heat until it's ready. Done. Pop-Tarts. Yeah. You get the toaster strudels. You're like, oh, how fancy. I have toaster strudels. You should be jealous of these steaks, Lori. Look at this New York strip, which is my favorite steak, by the way. Look at this thing. Look at it. Oh, my. It's all marbled. It's USDA Prime, too. Anyway, I get that for free. I don't pay for steak because I do work. I do work for them, for this company. So I do videos for them. So they have to send me products. Oh, I will, Miranda, do a video of, we'll do a live stream cooking steak. This is called Chicago Steak Spice. You can get it on Amazon. Where is it? Oh. Go to mychicagosteak.com. It's my buddy's company. He's awesome. Their USDA Prime steak is amazing. It's not injected like that Omaha steak shit. Okay, they're really good. The marbling is delicious. Again, this steak here, I could eat this in 3 meals. There's no way I could eat this much steak. SpaghettiOs are fancy, Laura. Don't get it twisted. It's so fancy. From government cheese to porterhouse. I'm actually starting to realize that this community that are gathered around this stuff, we all, not all of us, but a lot more people grew up poor than didn't. Isn't that crazy? I have not had a Wagyu steak. Can't afford. That's way out of my budget. What is sous vide? Minute steak. I have in my fridge, in my freezer, it's like Philly cheese steak, like really thin frozen steak. So good. But it's $65 a box. But it lasts us like months. It was on the Christmas tree. We all do. It's true. Scorpio. Wagyu is a really, really, really uber marbled steak that you have to eat rare or you're not allowed to eat it. Okay, it's ridiculously marbled and it like melts in your mouth like butter. It's very expensive because of the way the cows are raised. Do you guys remember when McDonald's had this is we'll see if you guys remember. Do you remember McDonald's had Dick Tracy was in the theaters and McDonald's had that's what I remember. They had scratch tickets you can go get for free. They had to give you one. And I would win like a Big Mac and all these stuff when I was a kid, when I was like, okay, this is crazy. When I was like in grade 3 or 4, I look back at how far I actually went away from home on my bicycle when I lived in downtown Hamilton. Holy shit, I'm surprised I'm alive to this day. But we would go to the McDonald's and do scratch tickets and win like Big Macs and stuff like that. I remember finding a $20 bill and spending the entire thing on candy. Crazy when I was young. You guys remember when Pepsi, you could look up in the lid of the Pepsi and see if they had more writing on it, and that was the one that was the winner? I remember that summer, I probably got 100 Pepsis. I never paid for one of them. Okay, so Oakley's parents will go in front of the judge December 30th to answer the dependent charges for... Okay. Sister tested positive for meth after hair follicle. Holy crap. Oh, McDonald's birthday party? Baller. Chuck E. Cheese? I'm pretty sure COVID came from Chuck E. Cheese. That actually sounds good. Yeah. Ilya, I remember dumpster diving. I lived in Stony Creek, which is Hamilton, and I remember literally finding toys in the dumpster and bringing them home. My mom was like, "Where'd you get that?" I'm like, "The dumpster." And she's like, "What? I'm surprised I don't have hepatitis C." Oh, McDonald's pizza. Yes. Guinness when you were a kid? Jenna, chill. Dumpster dive McDonald's. Oof. I would dumpster dive in an apartment building. So we lived in an apartment building, right? And these huge, I remember the dumpsters being so huge. We would find so much shit in the dumpster. Playboys, you name it. We found it, man. We had a stash behind some like super dangerous place we shouldn't have been playing. Our parents didn't give a shit, man. As long as we came home when the street lights came on, dang, we live in a different world. We have very good immune systems. I used to eat gum off the ground. Maybe I shouldn't have said that in a live. I used to eat gum off the ground. Foster mom's in the chat? Where? There we go. Jamie, hello, Oakley's foster mom. Thank you for covering the story. Jamie, would you consider coming on? Like, are you able to pop on if I give you the link? Can you come talk to us? Are you able to legally? Are you willing to? I'd love to have you on and talk about this because we're just talking about nothing right now. But I would really, really like to talk to you. Love to get your I'd love to get your take on this. I can send you a link. Basically, the link allows you to just turn your camera on your phone or your computer and we can chat. Because this is really heartbreaking. But only if you're comfortable, Jamie, sharing anything, and if you're legally allowed to, if you have the capacity to share, don't feel pressured into doing it. So here, I'll give you the link and we can chat in the back end here. Just click this link, Jamie, and it'll just put you in the back end here and we can chat. Okay, thanks. I'll let you, put a little rouge on. Thanks, Jamie, for doing that. I really appreciate it. Alexis, cancel. Roni, you lost. Yeah, I think Jamie's gonna have a lot to say here. We're gonna get some insight into this. I doubt she has a channel. Holy. Jeez. Oh, here, Jamie. Just click the link in the chat now. Okay. Because I might just direct you. I might put something else on here real quick. While I chat with her. Here, I'll just give you this for a second. This is the area. You guys are wondering. 300 acres. Look at the forested area. Okay, it's crazy. I don't know which side the house is on, but that's crazy. Oh, that's not. At the end of that road, like here, up here in this area, not South Bank. So somewhere here, or is it this way? Oh, it's right here. We'll figure it out, though. We don't know from where to where, but we'll get it figured out. Yeah, little miniature peanut butter. Something tells me this might be it here. Oh, okay. I'll be right back, everybody. Okay. So this. Hey, Jamie, how are you doing?
Good. Sorry, I've been watching Harry Potter all day, so I look kind of gross.
Oh, don't worry about it. Please don't. Please. I'm just gonna. You can hear everything fine.
Yes.
Okay, great. So welcome to the show, Jamie. I really appreciate you coming on and the insight that you have in this case. And first, let me just say that we're really, really sorry about what's happening.
Thank you.
I hope that she is okay.
Yeah.
But I think the police are saying that it's likely not the case. And I just want to see if we can get, and you got a ton of support in the chat here. Really, really, they will ask questions or they'll give you support, whatever you need. And please, if you don't feel comfortable answering something, just don't worry about it. Okay. Just say, I don't feel comfortable with that one.
Sure.
Thing like that. But can you tell us, kind of in your perspective, because you likely know way more than us, but what is going on here?
I mean, there are certain things I can talk about and things I can't talk about.
Right.
But just like background information, my husband and I got Oakley in 2017, and we had her until November of 2019.
Mhm.
And basically, it was just there were times up until that point where there were red flags. We didn't think it was a very good idea for her to go back.
Mhm.
And then it was just silence, like radio silence. We never saw her again. We never heard from her again. And that was kind of my husband and our choice to like not, we didn't want to confuse her being, close
Right.
to 3 years old. We didn't want her to like be traumatized by us being there and then not being there. So we cut
Yep.
off contact.
Mhm.
And then I would hear stories about abuse from people that knew Oakley.
Mhm.
And I would then call CPS, right? So I called CPS in January of 2021. And then when there was the house fire in November, I was very suspicious about it. So I
How
wrote,
did you find out about the house fire?
They had a GoFundMe.
Right. That's I did read that. You're right. And is it just because someone would send that to you, or you were keeping tabs without kind of getting close to her? Were you just obviously it sounds like you were, you're obviously were interested in her because you had such a deep bond with her,
Right.
and seeing all the stuff that got you scared at that point, and that was in November of this year.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm a high school teacher and I was in class and I had somebody say like, "Hey, like, weren't you her foster parent?" And I was like, "What?" And so then I like looked
Okay.
at the GoFundMe and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And if any of the followers have looked at those posts, like it's very weird. Like the couch was like completely burnt and some things just didn't add up and it made me very nervous. So I reached out to the
Hmm.
social worker that we had on the case and I said, "Hey, like, please look into this." And I also have contacted you in the past, and I feel like nothing has come
Me?
from it. No, no, not you, not you.
Oh,
CPS.
I
My
was like, oh shit! I hope I didn't miss. Can
no,
I ask? So let me stop you there because that's how my brain works.
yeah,
When did the fire burn down the entire house?
no.
Okay, when you figure, okay, so this all happened. Now, a lot of people are talking in this chat, and could all be wrong, or we might not know. You might not be able to answer. Are these parents addicts? Are they the medication that they're withholding from their other daughter that they're being charged for currently? If you know anything, if you're allowed to say anything, do you think it has something to do with that? The fire might be connected to that somehow.
I mean, like, I don't know. I
Okay,
think that it's pretty easy to speculate that drug use is prevalent, but like, I don't have anything that says
and they
like,
don't tell you,
yes, exactly. And
right?
and even if they did, I don't know if I could like go out and say that. But
Right.
people can make their own assumptions and see
Yeah.
what they think. But
Yeah, and as a guy who is an adopted dad, I know kind of a lot of these things often stem from addiction and abuse. So the 3 years you had her, let's go back to that real quick before we get into this. When you had her, when was the decision made, by who to say, okay, she's good to go back home now?
I think, basically because the parents were doing everything that they needed to do, that's kind of like a decision with DCYF, which is the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, and the courts.
Okay.
And so they say like, "Okay, mom and dad are doing everything they need to do.
Hmm.
Let's go ahead and transition these kids back." So it wasn't like I think it was a, "Look, they're meeting these boxes, they're checking them off.
Hmm.
Now let's go ahead and transition them back." And I would say so she went back in November, like I stated, and I think it was probably about October that we were informed that she'd be going back permanently.
Of 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very, very
And
short notice.
they're saying that you wrote a letter to the judge saying, can you go over the communication you had and the fear that you had and talk to us about that whole situation?
Yeah, so basically, I felt uneasy about different things throughout the time that we had Oakley, and I just thought that it wasn't there needed to be more of like a look into things. And so while I probably can't talk about all those things, I did go to the court hearings.
Mhm,
Um, I wrote the social workers letter, I wrote the judge letters, I wrote
mhm,
the staffing committee's letters, and I basically just said like, "Look how well she's doing in my care. Like I had her in dance class, I put her in swim lessons, we took her on trips. Like she's thriving, she's being like bumped up at daycare because she can speak so well and she loves to read." And it just was one of those things where I I was afraid of what might happen if she was returned. I didn't know if she'd still get to excel as much as she was in my care.
mhm,
And that's when I started to kind of be like, please just even if you do transition her, don't do it so quickly. Like
mhm.
take time because October to November is very fast for a 3-year-old to go from somebody that she's known their whole life to suddenly
Mhm.
permanently with them.
Are you able to speak on why she was removed and why you received her? They don't tell you that?
I mean, like I know, but I don't think I
Right,
can.
as a foster, I agree with you, and it's same rules in Canada, by the way. So you wrote these letters. Did the judge address you? Did he say, "I've taken this into consider"? Like, what happened? Like, I feel like you are an educated person who's been caring for this child for 3 years. Did it feel like they just kinda, like, didn't give a shit that you said that?
Oh, yeah, like, there were times where I'm like, "Did did anybody even get my letters? Like, did anybody even get the things that I sent them?" Because, like, I had a letter that I gave to my social worker to give to a staffing committee, and the staffing committee was basically what she told me was a group of people that made this decision to whether, Oakley and her siblings would be returned to,
Okay.
Jordan and Andrew, and so I wrote them this letter just basically pleading, saying, like, "Please don't do this."
Mhm.
Um, And I didn't even know if they received that letter or not that I wrote.
So we don't even have a way of knowing if the judge read the letter. And I mean, why though? Why if you write someone a letter, would they ignore it?
Right. And I have like, because I went back through, because a lot of that is like my husband and I've asked my husband, like, what more could I have done? Because I wrote letter after letter and email after email saying, like, this is a concern to me. This is a concern to me. And it fell on deaf ears, even when she
Mhm.
wasn't with me. And I called CPS about what I'd heard in January. And then I contacted about the fire. I don't think they took my email seriously about the fire in
Mhm.
November because nobody checked on her in November.
Good. And that's a good segue into this next section. And I'm not sure you understand or you know the answer. When Oakley goes back, is it not on DCYF? Sorry if I got that wrong. To keep tabs, check up monthly, weekly. What is it? What are they supposed to do?
So that's the tricky part is when we met with our social worker and her supervisor in October of 2019, we said, how long will you be following up on this? And they said 6 months.
Hmm.
And that was scary to me as a parent to have her for years and know that 6 months is not very much time. And so when you think about, okay, well, what happened at the start of 2020? Well, the pandemic happened. And so I don't know what happened as far as did they continue to do visits after the pandemic
Because
started?
they're not going to, and you aren't privy
I'm
to that information, right? They're not
I'm
going to, they don't have to tell you anything.
not, absolutely not.
So silly. Now you obviously were correct in your assumptions about the danger of putting her back. You don't know if the judge read it. We don't know anything like that because they don't tell you anything. And this is the system that doesn't get held accountable for anything. Now,
Yes.
what we're confused about generally is because this is such a moving case. She wasn't seen. The last time she was seen was last January.
February 10th is what I have read in most
Okay.
recent reports.
February 10th, she's seen, and just basically we don't know what happened. We know the police saw bloody handprints and blood splatter. And then when they asked when the mom last saw her, she said November 30th of this year.
Mhm.
Okay. And then this is December 6th when the police are interviewing her.
Right.
And they don't do anything after she doesn't want to answer. She gets upset.
Yeah, that's the December 6th was Oakley's 5th birthday. And
Yeah.
so I received a phone call, a couple of phone calls asking if I had Oakley, which I'm like, no, like I'm in
Wow.
school. And
Holy
then
shit. Okay.
I had another phone call that was basically saying like, well, when we find Oakley, can you take her? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, like
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So I get excited because I'm thinking like I have to plan her birthday dinner tonight. Like
Wow.
that's
Oh
my
my
first
God.
thought is I had my dance team banquet that night. I have to
Yeah.
cancel that or figure out something else because I have to plan this little girl's birthday party. So, and then slowly, like the next couple days is when, the parents were originally charged with the manslaughter charges. And then it kind of went to everything else after that.
Well, the manslaughter charges got dropped. Then they charged them with the negligence for their other daughter, giving her medicine. But I understand that they're trying to find something to hold them, and maybe that's maybe what the play is here, until they can find
Right.
whatever it is, maybe hopefully alive or whatever. I know I hate speaking in those terms,
Right.
but the heartbreaking nature of this is that their hands are tied without a body, and the fire is there. They have this report of all these things. They're not being checked up on. How many people, in your opinion, you don't have to answer this question. You're the only person who didn't fail her, by the way. But how many people has she gone through that have failed her up to this point?
A lot of people. And that's where like I think, and I can see some people that I know in the chat right now, like I am not an angry person. Like I'm really calm and kind and happy. And like I am so angry about this whole thing. It's so hard for me not to be mad because I I told people and nobody listened to me. And that's where I get mad. And I begged people like, please help with this. Please like,
Hmm. Hmm.
check on her. Please report this. And nobody did it. And I don't know why. And now I'm like, is this real life that we're
Please
like,
tell me you have receipts of those.
absolutely, I have receipts of
And
every.
so this is what we were talking about earlier before you showed up. I'm not sure if you're watching any of this, but we were like, how can regular people like us, right? We demand justice. We want to say, in this case, obviously the parents are obviously likely there to blame allegedly. We don't know, right?
Right.
But we know what we know, and we can just say whatever we want. But how can the judge, the workers, the people who failed her be held accountable in this situation? Can't you have receipts now at this point, which is going to be, I think, please be careful with all that stuff, because that's going to be very, very important going forward. There are so many people that need to be held accountable in this case. And if there's anything that we can do to help you get those out there, or hopefully I think this is going to pick up. This case is very weird, obviously, and she's still missing. And so you're going to hope the internet is going to attack this. I know Will's going to go live with this later and maybe connect with him. He's awesome. I think if it's in your ability to do it mentally and in your heart, just go everywhere you can with all the receipts that you have for the people that have done, who have failed her, and they need to be held accountable, because the next time, if nobody's held accountable, like they often are not, this will just continue to happen. And people like you and my friend Mark and Tom, my good buddies who foster, I think Tom, he's in the chat. He's fostered, I don't know, 15 kids already. This is something that's near and dear to him. I'm an adopted dad. My buddy Mark, who's my best friend, is a foster dad as well. This foster system is broken.
Right.
And as someone who fosters like yourself, often the only goal of the court is to reunite with a parent, regardless often of the circumstances, which in this case was ignored by the person who's taking care of her and said, look, I know this person should not be going back, and was ignored. And now this girl is presumably dead and gone. And this life is snuffed out, this potential for this person. And it was just ignored because it was a system that failed her, and people specifically, which is why I was saying, hey, can we come like peacefully protest this courthouse? Can we do something where we are like, you've got to stop letting this happen at all costs, to say, well, we reunited with the mother, because that's clearly that doesn't work in almost all cases. I'm not saying all, but most.
Yeah. And I do, like, I understand that reunification does work, and it can be a beautiful thing. And I would never want to discredit that does happen, and that the foster system does do good things. In my situation, I just felt very much ignored. And that's what's so hurtful to me, is that, like, we did so right by her. We did so right by making sure that she was, like, well taken care of, and that, like, we spent time with her siblings. And then when things started to transition, I just felt like it was completely like, okay, now shut up, like, go away, like, we're done with you. And I was like, well, what about her? Like, she's going to have an attachment disorder. Like, I see this all the time in my classroom, where kids are not, like, treated right because, you know, or they have these adverse childhood experiences. And like, I don't want that for her. And it just was kind of like, all right, go away. Like, and so that's where.
Thanks. Bye. Like, you know, you're the one who actually raised her. You're the one who brought her up. And now we're like, you know what? It's honestly, and I know I say this, it's a giant FU to people who are actually good. And the system rewards those who are not good and tells people who are good to go pound sand.
Right.
And so the only way we can do this is, honestly, is in a court of public opinion, to hold these people accountable. And you've got the receipts for that.
Yes. And like, I do have to say that, like, the detective that I have worked with on this case has been absolutely phenomenal. And he has made a very good point to me, that ultimately the parents are responsible, right? Like, Jordan and Andrew are responsible. And I agree. I 100% agree. Allegedly, whatever has happened with Oakley, they are at fault for this.
Yes, of course. Yes.
It boils down to, Oakley would have never been in this position had they not been given back to them. And that's where I get the most angry. But I do have to say, I have amazing community support. You know, we live in a really small town. And the way that my town has come together to support Oakley and my husband and I and our families has been beyond anything we could have ever have expected. And they have started Oakley's Law, which they started it on change.org, and it garnered over almost 6,900 signatures before they shut it down. And they're trying to contact legislature to enact a 5-point safety net for foster children, where it wouldn't just be the social worker that would be that main point of contact. It would be at least 5 other people that would be, so that those children are not falling through the cracks.
This is this is a lot of our questions, like what can be done. So this law looks really important, because she clearly was not checked up on.
Right. Yeah.
Not at all. Was missing for something like not a year, but close to a damn year. How is this? Again, yes, the parents are likely to blame for all of this, but the others are not without some kind of blame too, some kind of responsibility anyway that they failed to meet. Now, the parents did this, and they could not know that they were going to do this, but they were warned by you. First of all, we knew that, and they were not doing their due diligence for the safety of this child. And look what happens. So The reason I'm saying judge needs to step down, the DCYF, whatever worker, these people, the boss, there has to be high level accountability, not low level, maybe not even the worker, because maybe they're overworked. Okay, but you live in a small town, so probably not. So what I'm saying is at the high level, people need to start being held accountable or they will never change.
Right. I completely
Annie's got a pretty big channel. She says, I'm sorry if this has already been asked, but did the bio parents have a history with drugs? In their mugshots, they appear to have meth markings.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can't speak to that. But I know that they just have a pretty big rap sheet. I mean, the mom especially has a pretty big rap sheet, that I have heard in other like YouTube channels and police reports as to what they've been in trouble for.
Mm-hmm. And clearly, and the judge just doesn't take that into consideration too. I mean, that's available to them to look at. And it just seems like it's like, well, that's all in the past now, even though the rap sheet's probably massive. And the judge is all like, well, let's put her back into the again. I honestly believe that a little bit of peaceful protesting is warranted in this case because nobody seems to want to be held accountable. And they're like, well, we did our, we investigated ourselves and we found ourselves to be innocent. And that's just what's happening. The question too from Jamie, was the dad an ex-cop?
Yes. Yeah. He was. Okay. Yes, he was a police officer.
So they're just keeping their mouth shut. And if there's no body, there's no crime, basically. But at the same time, everybody knows, like, I mean, what kind of parent says, I haven't seen him in over a week and I'm not going to answer any more questions? Like, what the F?
I mean, I feel like if I did that as a foster parent,
right?
I mean, like, there's so many strict rules as a foster parent that I had to follow. But I just was like, I don't know where the kid is. Like, I would be in so much trouble.
This is a question, and I know we don't want to get political, but do you live in a more liberal type of community for like judges or not?
No.
So, I mean, you're right. And so, and this is the thing, when I'm an adopted parent, I have to have a freaking fire extinguisher in every 2 rooms and I have to meet all these criteria. I have to have all this, and that's fine. I get that safety stuff. But when they send it back, this child back to the mother, they follow none of those rules. They don't give a shit about any of it. We, as foster parents and adoptive parents, have to go through so many more hoops when we're the one protecting the kid. And then they send them back to the problem and don't seem to care.
Right. My husband and I are currently waiting to adopt right now. Like, we are working with an agency. And this has been for like almost 2 years that we've been waiting to adopt. But like, we had to have like 8 letters of reference. We had to submit our marriage certificate, our tax forms, like every single thing. Like, I think we had to submit our dog's rabies tags. And like, it's just the same thing with foster care. We're like, I was having flashbacks to when we first got Oakley and we had to submit all these things to the state. And it's just kind of like, I don't think that the biological parents have to have a ladder under their bed in case of a house fire. Cause I do.
But you do.
And I still have it.
and here's some things that maybe they should start putting into law with teeth. You submit, if you're going to want your child back, great. We love it. You submit to a weekly hair follicle test. Right. You submit to this, and this. We're going to be coming to check on you for the first year, not 6 months. We're going to be there weekly. We're going to be calling you. We're going to be coming in randomly without you knowing. All this stuff should go on, and it doesn't. They just go, oh, well, she's reunited. The system's worked. Wash your hands of it and walk away. While people like you who've poured your life into these kids, you have trauma from this as well. They don't give a shit about you. Okay, they don't care. You're a means. You're a patch. You're a Band-Aid, which should not be the case.
Well, and I would love to know, like, in that 6-month follow-up, like, what happens in those 6 months? And I know that that's not my business, right? Like, once I'm out of the picture, I'm out of the picture. But like, did they notice anything that was like, you know what, we're going to tack on an extra 6 months? Or is it just kind of like hey, we just want to be done with this. Like, let's just go ahead and finish this up.
My theory is they didn't even check at all. COVID happens. Okay. Yeah. And they're like, well, COVID happens. And everybody used COVID as an excuse to drop the ball and not do shit. I'm saying workers did the same thing. Everybody took this opportunity to say, well, COVID protocols and all this shit. So we did what we could based on our protocols that were put in place. Okay. That's what happened. I almost want to see the records of how much they checked up on this girl, what they knew, because if they didn't, that person needs to be fired at minimum, jailed otherwise.
I personally would love to have an explanation as to when I called in November. So I emailed first. I emailed the social worker and I said, like, hey, like, this is really alarming to me. And I also said in the thing, please know that if something happens to these children, that you guys are fully responsible. Like, you guys are fully responsible. And
Yep.
then I said, I will be calling CPS tomorrow to also say, like, hey, this is like, so I could have a formal complaint. I don't know if anybody ever went out there or not. Like, what the heck? If I'm calling, and even if I was a former foster parent, like, did I want Oakley to come back to me? Yes. But more
Mhm.
importantly, was she safe? Were her siblings safe?
Mhm.
That was what was important to me. So how could you just ignore that?
So I think the you're right. I think the issue here is that nobody will be held accountable for this, and we, the parents will because they what they did, right? Hopefully everything
Right.
like this. I don't know if you have death penalty in your state, but whatever. What I'm saying is that I hope that they justice prevails in that case, but it also needs to prevail for those who failed her, who didn't do their due diligence. This is kids we're talking about. You get one chance with these kids, okay? The trauma that they experience has lasting ramifications throughout their entire adulthood. We're talking ODD, we're talking attachment disorders, we're talking about like ADHD, we're talking about anything that can affect their brain will affect them forever. And they
Right.
just don't seem to give a shit at all. And
Right.
they, because they are not accountable. None of them are. And the only way we're going to hold them accountable is by exposing them to the media, by protesting. You have receipts. There's things, there's a petition, obviously, about the law. That's great. But I want a petition for this judge and the leader of your FYCF, whatever you call it, to step down.
Right.
Done. Get out of there. You don't belong there. Put someone else in the case. And if that person messes up, know that what's coming down the pipe
Right. And
because you failed.
right. And I want to put this out here too. Like, the petition has since closed because we got enough signatures, so it has been sent to
Okay.
lawmakers, which is good.
Okay.
So if I have anybody that's like, well, I want to sign this, like, I really truly appreciate that because I appreciate the support, but it did what it needed to do.
Mhm.
And I'm hopeful that it's doing what it needs to do. And then the protesting, like, I want to make sure that nothing, I don't want any, it needs to be peaceful. And that's where I get nervous about the word protest because
Mhm.
Oakley was the kindest person in the world. Like, the example I gave to a friend the other day is that, like, I remember watching the movie Wall-E with her, and she started
Mhm.
to cry when she noticed that Wall-E didn't have a friend and Wall-E was alone. Like, that's how tenderhearted she was. And so I would never want anything to be um, violent or angry in her honor because that just wasn't her personality. It wasn't her
Mhm.
demeanor.
Mhm.
But I understand, like, I too, like, I think there has to be some kind of movement where we're like, we are angry.
Mhm.
And I think that just by getting her story out there, like what you're doing right now, helps build this momentum that people are going to learn more about it because that's what's going to help change things is by people realizing, like, whoa, this is so messed up. Like, this can't happen anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, and I agree with you exactly. I'm not trying to, like, I mean, I'm not American. I'm Canadian, so I'm not even something that's like our, So, but what I'm seeing is that what's effective these days, that if you do it properly with respect, all you do is draw attention to it so the media picks it up, right? And then when it does gather the steam, I'm not looking for people to dox these judges or these CPS workers, nothing like that, but to stand out there in solidarity with you and with Oakley and to say, no more of this shit. Okay. We are done with this. And the only way that we can affect change, obviously, is to create laws through lobbyists. Yes.
Yeah.
But also to say, if you are going to fail these kids, you no longer get to accept the $200,000 you make as a judge. You're done here. We don't want you in our community. Please go somewhere else. Step down. You failed.
Yeah.
Right. You can
Even
peacefully protest and you can, without, you're right. And but you're right. You want to make sure that it's an honor and it's honoring her and what she would have. You're right. That's such a good point.
Yeah, and I really want to, like, I feel like me, I just want to have an explanation from that social worker who I know I won't hear from, but I want to know, like, why did you think that this was a good idea? Why did you feel that it was appropriate to ignore my
Mhm.
complaints? Like, why wasn't I heard when I am a mandatory reporter? When I contacted CPS in January, I contacted my local police chief first, and I was like, "Hey, like, what do you suggest?" And she was like, "Well, it's out of my jurisdiction, but I do
Mhm.
suggest you do this." So we know that somebody went out to visit Oakley in January, right? Because that was the first, like, the first reported last time of seeing her. So I
Okay.
feel like, um, but what kind of visit was it? That's what I would like to know. Like, was it okay, yeah, we see her in the room. Did they interview her? Did they ask if everything was okay? Was there any abuse happening? Like, did they just take mom and dad's word for it? Like, that's what I want to know the answers to. And I know I don't get to know those answers, but I would love to know what kind of check-in was done when I called CPS in January? And when I called again in November, why wasn't I taken seriously? Like,
Yeah.
it was so fouled up.
Okay, explain to me, let's reverse a bit. Now, what is the process of, is it the mom's CPS worker on her side that says, let's reunite? Does she set the process, or what set this process in motion?
That's a great question because so when we first got Oakley, it was very much a like touch and go situation where it was like she might be up for adoption, she might be reunified, and then go forward a year, and it's like okay, like parents are still kind of in limbo. Might be adoption, and then fast forward to like another 6 months, and it's like yeah, probably going to go into adoption. And then it was very
Mhm.
much like, yep, probably like the rights were never terminated for the parents. So we're kind of
Right.
just waiting.
Which they do at the absolute
Right.
last thing they could ever do. Yes.
Okay, so we're almost to having her for like 3 years, and we're thinking like, okay, this is gonna happen soon, right? But then it was so fast, and it wasn't even like I was included. Like, I think I found out. I have to look back through some of my texts, but I don't even think that the social worker called me and told me. I found out from the drivers because like parents when they have visitation rights, um, you'll have like a text message from somebody that picks up the kids and drives them to and from the visits.
Mhm.
I found out that Oakley was permanently going home from the driver, not even from the social worker. And so that's where I get so frustrated at the lack of communication because like I would constantly be emailing, texting. Like it was never like you couldn't not get a hold of me. Like, and I would always respond. And so I felt like it was just kind of like hey, we're done. Like, let's just sweep this under the rug and do it as fast as we can. And that's another part where I get angry. So,
Samantha's question: did the parents show up for the required visitations?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they wanted her back. It seems like they did, but it seems like I don't like this year. This is the craziest thing I've seen here, and your receipts are obviously going to be the pivotal moment in this case. But this year of absolute off the gridness, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know what you're even calling this, abandonment of this child by the people that were supposed to be helping her. We need to figure that out. And you have a worker, right, that works for you, who is your caseworker,
Right.
who protects your rights, who says, here's what you got to do. What did she say about all this?
That's
Nothing.
I haven't heard anything. No,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
no, like since the whole like, and I know that like I am no longer a party to this case because like I am not in the foster care
Yep.
system. Like
Yep.
I let my license expire this last October because um why have it if I'm not going to get Oakley back? Like I wanted Oakley. I don't want to have like my
Mhm.
main goal wasn't to like, they have this bad reputation that I wanted money or that like
Mhm.
that's not what I wanted. I just wanted Oakley.
Mhm.
Um and so I let it close because there wasn't anybody else that I was thinking that I needed to have. So I let that close and then I never heard anything again.
So
So
your worker never contacted you and said, like, here's the plan. She's going back home now.
no,
And
I met with her in October, like I said, and I was
yeah.
like, hey, I had a whole list of questions, I had a whole list of concerns, and basically it was just like, this is what's going to happen. If the judge agrees to it, that's what it is. And that's all I could do. That's all I could listen to, honestly. Yeah. It was a very frustrating meeting. I think my husband had to hold my hand and make sure I didn't get too angry.
Um and you know what? Unfortunately and fortunately, they're scared of this case. For what
Yes.
I know you did this because you loved her.
Mhm.
Okay, you love her and you did this for her safety, but what you did was the most important thing and probably is going to be the anchor of this case for justice. Now her parents likely will spend the rest of life, hopefully, whatever. Good, but the other people that need to be held accountable as well and do, and because of what you did, the foresight, the wherewithal you had was mind-blowingly good. And I hope a lot of foster parents who might be watching this type of situation document everything,
Right.
always.
Oh,
Always have everything.
I have a file drawer right next to me where I kept every single visit sheet I have, and I would also keep a Google Doc of
Mhm.
how did she behave when she came home from a visit.
Yes.
Um,
And that's when attachment disorders and things really start, and they act up and they become someone different. And it's like, it's always negative. Not like in my case, it was always negative. They came back and like, shit, I don't want them to go anymore because they come back and it all resets, and it's so bad. The courts don't give a shit about kids, everybody. They don't care. They care about the law, and I guess it's supposed to, but we got to start humanizing this type of law for children. They are not numbers, they are not case files, they are humans, and they are without protection because they are being represented by people with massive caseloads, and they don't give a shit generally because that's their job. They are just a number, and we got to stop that.
Right. Yeah,
So.
and I just know I completely agree because it's unfortunately I really thought that writing the judge those letters and by them seeing like my husband and I are very involved in our community, like
Mhm.
I DJ homecoming or we like help out at whatever type of thing we can help out with. And
Mhm.
I wanted him to know like I will forever take care of this child. I will always make sure that this child is well taken care of. And this you will always know who this child is because you will see them out and about in our community. And it was so disappointing to not get a response. And for the decision that was made, it was like, why did you do that? Why did you think that that was an appropriate idea? And I don't want to ever think that like recovery isn't an option because recovery can happen. I've had very close family members and friends that have dealt with drugs and addiction and they have overcome, and it has been the most beautiful thing.
Mhm.
That wasn't my only concern. And that's when I'm like, why did you think that this was okay? Why did you like think that this was a great idea?
Is there ever going to be a possibility that we can find through record searches or whatever that who put this plan into motion?
That's a good idea also. That's a great question. I don't even know.
In your state, does she get money for having her?
I don't know. I mean, I would think if like, I know that if like, they were on like welfare, I'm not saying they were, I'm saying that they could get it if they filed for it, but I don't know if they were or not.
Explain to me this. I mean, you might not know this answer. They live in this 300-acre property. Are they wealthy?
I don't think they owned it.
They rented it. Okay. And you're generally in a country area anyway, so that's kind of okay. We just wanted to see what was going on, and yeah. Okay. Well, Jamie, this has been very eye-opening. I hope we can stay in touch, and please, if there's any updates, anything like that, I'm going to try to figure out. I will continue to cover this, and we will watch it very closely, and hopefully we can, like the Gabby Petito case, it might honestly just take people getting out there and protesting, to be honest with you. Sorry. I'm not saying, and I will always advocate for peaceful protesting. I always will. And in Oakley's, hope in her memory, we have to say that because the police say this, but we have to be respectful, but we have to hold these people accountable. So keep really close track of your records, and hopefully we can get enough people. Brian Enton and these guys can hopefully reach out to you if we get this case getting it out there a little bit more. Let's see, everybody, if you have Twitter, anybody out there who has Twitter right now, please go to Twitter right now and tag Brian Enton on this with this hashtag answers for Oakley that Annie came up with. Okay, if we get 150 tweets at Brian Enton right now, if he gets on this case, we're gonna see it. He is a pretty big deal in this area. And so let's see if we can get some other people to start talking about this and get justice, because at this point, small town people, they don't care. And now that this is going to start getting attention, shit might start working in favor of children. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
So if you guys have Twitter, do that. Please use this hashtag. Let's get this going on Twitter big time. And Jamie, if you're open to it, I'd love to have you back on as this case shifts and changes, because you have a lot of the insight. Not only do you live there, but you obviously are very connected to this. And if they reach out to you and everything else, just make sure that you're legally allowed to do whatever you're allowed to say. But they might try to scare you into being silent. Don't be scared into being silent. Okay. Because in the end, we don't want this happening to another kid. I'm not putting that on you or anything, but I'm just saying you have some power here and some leverage. And it sounds like you want justice just like everybody else does. I mean, you deserve more justice than we all do, because you are the one who raised this child.
Thank you.
And so thank you so much for being a foster mom and for being someone amazing. You deserve all the credit in the world for that. You are incredible. And so thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So let's stay in touch.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jamie.
Bye.
Okay. Jamie's awesome for coming on. Yeah, that's the truth, eh? Yeah, she might have had biological parents, but Jamie was her mom. So if you guys have Twitter, please do me a favor. Tweet this shit at Brian Enton. Go tweet. Let's get this guy talking about this. This is crazy. This girl's still missing. Okay. And these parents aren't speaking. And it feels like everybody failed her at every level. And nobody wants to be held accountable, and like passing it off, and they're being secret. They're locking files down. You know what they're doing right now. They're burying shit. They are not going to let you guys know who failed this girl, because all those people who did, I hope you don't sleep at night. I hope you feel terrible for what you did. Okay. I hope you feel terrible for failing this little girl. I hope you live with that for the rest of your effing life. You disgusting people. Who is the leader of DCYF in that region? Let's get him fired. Let's get him fired. This place is not that far from me. I'm actually going to Google how far it is from me. Oh, never mind. I was thinking of Washington, D.C. It's only 848 hours if I walk. It's a, let's see, a drive is in 39 hours. So no, it's not close to me. I lied. Sorry. Yeah, I'll try to take a clip from this live and do that for sure. Okay, I honestly thought it was Washington, D.C. I'm like, that's not so far. It's like 8 hours. That's very far from me, Washington. Very, very, very far. The other side of the world. Yeah, someone maybe tweet at Joe Petito. See if you can get on this as well. Yeah, they don't. I mean, in this case, though, we're talking about a small town. So small towns should fare better. They don't have a lot of kids. Like, they're small towns. So police says there's no updates. Just dropping the charges. That's what we have. Yeah, Walsh. Anybody. Guys, tweet it out there. Get it out there. It's not that small of a town. Okay. Mrs. Lily Mason, do you think, and here's an honest question, do you think that people failed this little girl? Do you think that DCYF failed this little girl at any capacity? And if so, who should be held accountable for it? So I don't care. This person that leads this company, whatever the case may be, didn't do their job. They didn't hold people accountable the proper way. As far as we are aware right now, fire them. Fire this judge. They need to be removed. You don't get a second chance. You messed up. It's done. The kid's likely dead. So I get what you're trying to say here, but I'm not with you on it. If they are, obviously, I mean, I'm not saying go if there's not any evidence to fire them. Don't. I'm just saying, let's get to the bottom of it as best we can. Fire at minimum. In most U.S. states, you get more welfare per child, so technically, yes, they could have. That's what I'm thinking. Now that we realize that likely they were renting this place in the country and they were likely doing meth, they were probably on welfare too. I feel like if you're on welfare, you shouldn't have your kids back. You're not willing to create a better life for them. Yeah, they're getting involved. Oh, we didn't get any files. We didn't receive any emails. Thank God she kept her receipts. She's got receipts, folks. That is the most important part of this case, is the receipts that she has. Why am I wearing headphones still? Is the receipts that she has. Those receipts are going to be a freaking thorn in the side of those people. Oh, it was his father's farm. Okay. My best friend, dad at DSTF, works CPS work. I'm going to talk to him. Okay. So, yeah, it turns out it's his dad's land. Oh, sorry. CPS in Grace Harbor is horrible. Firsthand fostered kids and CPS failed us in keeping the kids. Yeah, we were listening to it firsthand. They didn't even tell her. And the driver had to tell her, oh, yeah, it's not coming back anymore. Like, give me a break. Now this kid is dead. Guys, I'm sorry. There are people who have to be held accountable, not just the people who perpetrated it, but the people who failed her, because this was completely avoidable. They were given ample warning by the person who raised her. Okay? Very much so. too much here. I can understand if nobody said anything, blah, blah, blah. You know, you got lost in the cracks. No. Jamie did her due diligence. People need to answer for the lack of care for this child. Brian Enton is his Twitter handle. Answers for Oakley is the hashtag. Sorry. If you're on welfare for a long period of time, you're not willing to give your kids a better life. I'm saying a long period of time, like lifers, which likely these people were. If you do drugs, you don't deserve kids. Full stop. Especially if you do meth. Nope. No, Jamie, they have not found her yet. The police are presuming her dead. The farm is in Andrew's grandmother's name. Okay. If the judges would be held responsible if a child is hurt, they would be less likely to put kids back. Yeah, and judges, nobody's held accountable, everybody. This is what I'm so upset about. Nobody is held accountable. So this is why you need court of public opinion sometimes and peaceful protests to say, hey, because if you don't put pressure on the government to change, who's the frickin' somebody look up where they're from? Who's their politician? Who's their state representative? It's time to start tweeting at these people. Because if you don't put pressure on these people, there will be no accountability because they won't know. So if you don't put the pressure on, they won't get fired. They won't get fired. They'll do it again. They're in jail right now, being held on the charge for not giving their daughter the life medicine she needed. Someone had mentioned before, Jamie, that he had like false reports or something like that, but that it's just that was a passing, could be wrong. So, but that's all I heard. The dad got fired from the force for falsifying stuff about Oakley, half sisters, father getting him arrested. How did they not see this was unfit and willing to go to those lengths? You could just look at somebody who has meth scars and meth scabs and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't put a kid there. They have meth scars. Yeah, you just type in the hashtag. Get the Free Britney movement on it. Yeah. I mean, they're in a country, so 300 acres in a country is probably not what you think it is, but likely another property. It'd be I think we're going to get the sleuthers on this. Internet sleuthers need to start digging up everybody in this situation. It's just got to be the way it is. Brian's parents, everybody, same type of thing. You just got to start digging up all the dirt. That's how you put pressure on people. Foster advocacy groups. Yep, exactly. Yep. The house fire. Yeah, she told us about the house fire. That wasn't a complete burn down house fire. So likely wasn't the cause of death for Oakley. And she said, why didn't you guys do a checkup on this or anything? And they just fit like they just don't give a shit, people. Yeah, I don't want to think this, but please be careful, Jamie. When cases blow up in the media, I always think of the witnesses, and they may have the only evidence against the people responsible. Jamie's got the only receipts that matter in this case, and she's going to be a big deal. And I hope that she can help delve out the justice that she deserves, and so does Oakley. Can someone point me to the pics of this house fire? That they apparently stopped searching the property because the daughter said she got eaten by a wolf. So the cops are like, oh, okay, cool. The 6-year-old told us she got eaten by a wolf, so we're going to stop. The mother lied about that to the 6-year-old. So they stopped looking? Nope. Get the dogs out there. Get the cadaver dogs out there now. I'm sure he absolutely knows how to handle himself and cops. He knows what not to say and what to do, of course. The dogs have been out and they found nothing. Let's hope that's a good sign. Stranger things have happened, everybody. Miracles have happened. She could have passed away from smoke inhalation, especially if they were making drugs. Those fumes would be toxic. Agreed with you on that. That could be, and they didn't want to get her. The autopsy would show that she probably had meth in her system if she died from those types of things, right? Which would put them in jail. So they just buried her or something like that. Cadaver dogs only work in very small areas. Really? I didn't know that. Yeah, again, no body, no case. They can't do anything. They can't find a body. Let's see if eyewitnesses. Jamie was the foster mom. Yeah, the first, like her mom, real mom, to be honest with you. She's the one who raised her. Oh, it's just Josh at the dadchallengepodcast.com. Yeah, you think they'd be concerned? Maybe you should go see if there's wolves there, first of all. The 6-year-old had meth in her system. We did figure that out. Yes. Thank you, Janine. I remember that. Insane, because a hair follicle test. So these people clearly were doing meth. And it was likely, maybe it was the fire then. When they said the fire was last November, it makes a lot more sense on the timeline that that's maybe what happened. The siblings were in school, but Oakley wasn't, because likely she's died. And even if it was wolves, okay, you still call the police and you still call somebody and say, our daughter's missing. We might think it's wolves. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's my email. Is it snowing? Okay. Yeah, parenting classes don't mean shit when all they're doing is it to fill a quota and check a box. Okay, they're probably not even listening. They were smoking it. It's easy for her to have it in her system. Is I don't know anything about meth, and okay, but is meth very similar to smoking, where secondhand meth smoke can be inhaled if it's done inside of a home? I don't know. I don't know anything about meth. So yes, people are saying yes. So there's a lot of offset exhaust from smoking meth that those kids are in the home. If they're doing it enough, those kids are going to have it in their systems 100%, right? And if they're testing a kid's hair follicle and they're testing positive for meth, it means that they're inhaling it and that they are high as well. Residue. Hair follicle doesn't show residue. Hair follicle is for, maybe it is for residue. Maybe you're right. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. So this now makes more sense if we know that there's meth involved. If people are saying they saw meth things in the vials and the photos, that they might have been making the meth with the daughter's medication, which is crazy to me that people would do that. Okay. Meth is so dangerous. Don't do meth, people, please. People were suggesting that the medication was asthma related. We don't know, and I didn't ask, and I don't think she knew either. Where did you send them, Kayla? My email? I don't know where that is. Facebook? I don't see. No. Twitter? No. Yeah, have a good night. Thank you. Sudafed? Okay. Instagram. Okay. Looking for it. I don't see anything in Instagram, anybody. Nothing. Oh, here we go. I had to refresh it. That's why. Okay. I don't see anything here, guys. It was a house where they're cooking meth, and there's so many cases where these places catch fire because the substances used to make meth. Okay, yeah. Crazy. The fire was November of last year. The 6-year-old was on medication for children that are born with a failure to thrive. So it's something, a growth type of hormone, probably. How do you guys know this? You guys are sleuthers. The GoFundMe for was November 2021 this year. But she hasn't been seen since February of this year. Wait, yeah. Okay. Weird. That's a weird timeline. Have you checked? No, I'm not going to do that. Nope. Well, don't do that either. I would never. Don't anybody do that. Let the police do that. Isn't the paper last? Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's the thing that they said too. That the boys said that she was beat with a belt and kept in a closet under the stairs. Fire was this year. I went to high school with the mom and saw the GoFundMe. Okay, thanks, Janine. I appreciate that. So, what does the timeline make? So, where was she between February and November? If they say if people are alluding to the fire being the reason, I don't think so. This girl's been missing since February. So, something's up. Jeez, I'm getting a little bit pooped here. Okay. Yeah, where has she been for this? Where's this gap? What happened? I'm a teacher in one of our college classes. They actually taught us how easy it is to identify nuts on a child. Nuts on a child, because it's so easy to smell. I'm not sure if nuts is the word you were looking for there. Is there a spelling mistake there? Is that a technical term for something? Oh, sorry. Okay. Meth. Thank you. Yeah, that's crazy. Is meth really that prevalent? That's so sad. Well, Jamie, I mean, I don't know why this stuff is not out there more. It should be. It's that bad. That's so sad. Is meth the thing too that's being laced with fentanyl that's killing people, or is that like weed? I don't know, guys. If you one thing you know about me, I'm just not. I am totally ignorant to that type of world because I've made it a point my entire life to stay away from that stuff after what it did to me as a child. The other siblings are in protective custody. This is another thing. Good question, Brittany. Whose blood? Did they take it? Is it in evidence? If she's being abused like the 9-year-old brother was saying, she could have just been beaten to death. If she was sick, if she was not being fed and she was hungry and she's sick and she's being beaten, come on, people, that's torture. Is the death penalty in Washington State? Because if so, oh, Gus, you silly Gus. Blood was found on the, I think they said the front door and the you call it the curtain or whatever it's called, the blinds, and in the basement. Blood is being tested for DNA. Okay. Hello, Amy. It's fentanyl. Remember the thing that came up with Heidi Plank? That's true. Yeah, that's the fentanyl thing. That's right. Any drug can be laced with fentanyl. Fentanyl, crazy. Crazy what humans can make. What we can make to kill ourselves. And relatively simple. Meth is a problem in a lot of small farming locations. People are separated in living space from each other. Job availability is low. Mental health issues are rarely addressed. That makes sense in small towns. Other siblings, I believe, Brittany, were 9 and 6. Are 9 and 6. The grandparents said she was sickly looking. Okay. Oh, there's 2, 6, and 9. Great. Those kids, and again, let's not forget there's 3 other siblings who are now completely traumatized because they hopefully they didn't see anything go on and their mother's lying to them about the wolf thing, and the lie proves that they didn't know and didn't see, hopefully. But yeah, grandparents did nothing. Why are you hissing, Roni? All right, guys, I have a huge long drive tomorrow, so I have got to exit this chat. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. We will obviously keep track of this. And if anybody lives out in Washington State, knows how to do this type of protesting or whatever, I don't know, we can probably talk offline. But I think that let's get this girl found and people held accountable if we can do what we can to do that. So thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you for adding to this conversation. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Jamie. Let's get to the bottom of this, and hopefully some people will be held accountable and be held as an example what not to do and take better care of kids. Cheers.